Yeah, yeah. Anyway, on to you. I'm not important today. You're important. So let's get into it. So getting into video games as a hobby is one thing. You grew up playing all the classic FPS games and some RPGs like Ultima and programming. So maybe there's a correlation. But how are you exactly attracted to developing modding for video games?
So I started when the first Doom was released. So I mean, obviously, before Doom was released, I was playing games. I was playing games since like 1980. 86 or something. So I was always playing games, and there was never an opportunity for me to actually make a game until Doom came out. So when Doom came out, they released an editor, and so I instantly just started making mods, levels for Doom. And then what you're seeing on the screen now is Navy SEALs Quake.
Yes.
This was an awesome. This was one of my my very first mods that I made for Quake, and I really enjoyed working on this one because this was my very first time making models, like weapon models. And at the time, I love like special forces, and like all of the guns that I made for Navy SEALs, they were like based on the guns that the Navy SEALs were using. So like the Mark 23 pistol, Mossberg shotgun. So I did a lot of research and just kind of trying to find out what kind of weapons that the Navy SEALs were using. And yeah, this is an awesome. This is a real fun time for me because I learned how to create those models, and also I learned how to program. So in to make a mod for Quake, I needed to learn how to program in something called Quake C, which is similar to like C, like the regular C, but I think it just has a little bit of modifications for the Quake engine. But basically, I learned how to do that. Yeah, kind of like on my own. Because before I made this mod, I did learn how to program in high school. I took a few courses on learning how to program. So learning how to program in Quake C was a little bit. I guess it wasn't like it wasn't like learning from scratch. So I could have I was able to take some of the stuff that I learned from high school and just kind of apply it to here. So, but it was difficult because back then there wasn't any YouTube videos. So learning how to make this mod, it involved going to a lot of these websites.
Asking
And I
on
think
forums.
yes, basically asking on forums. Yeah, a lot of that was just because we didn't have like Discord. But we did have something called IRC, which is actually basically the same as Discord, because IRC is basically a live chat rooms basically. So I would join these IRC channels, and there would be like developers on there, and I would ask them questions about Quake C and that kind of stuff. So, and there was back then there was a pretty there was a pretty active community. It wasn't as big as it is today. I mean, today there's like so many game developers, but still, the community back then, we were all pretty tight, so we were able to kind of like help each other out. And yeah, I just remember like programming like all of this in Quake C, and just so I created those enemies as well. And so I did all of the so when I created these models and all of the animations, I used this program called Quake Army Knife. So it was this really primitive tool. It's basically like Blender, but back then it was super primitive. And I remember it took me like 2 or 3 months just to make one of these models, like the MP5. It took me like 2 months just to make that. But it was a lot of fun though. I really enjoyed this mod. You know?
Yeah. I know. I kind of know what you're talking about, but of course, it's nice for the audience to also be aware because they of course might not know. So, how long did it take you to actually make and finish Navy SEALs?
Navy SEALs?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Too long?
Probably about a year and a half. It was not too long because after I made this mod, I worked on other mods. So I think if I worked on this mod, I think I probably spent like about a year and a half on it. Yeah. And then after I worked on this mod, I worked on another game called Action Quake 2,
Yeah.
which is on the Quake
We'll
2
get to
engine.
that
So
too in a little
yeah,
bit.
we'll get to that.
Yeah. So
But interesting, the Navy SEALs mod was a lot of fun working on that. Yeah.
Oh, so that's where your passion for modeling also came, I suppose.
Yeah. So basically, I created all the models, like everything you see, the weapons, the enemies. I did not create the levels. So these levels, actually, wait a minute. I did create. I created like maybe one or two levels, but I think most of the levels they were created by the community.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, all I did was I just created the weapons and the characters and the AI, and so most of the levels were actually created by the community. They would just actually take the mod and they would just kind of like just kind of use the weapons and just kind of place the enemies
Yeah, yeah.
in the level. Yeah.
I watched a lot of your interviews to kind of prepare myself, and you did say that level design was not your strongest component ever.
Yeah. Yeah. So right, like so before, like even in Counter Strike, I didn't actually make any of the levels for Counter Strike.
Yeah.
Uh, um, I didn't start making levels until I worked on TI. So
Mm-hmm.
that was in like 2007. So yeah, so for these mods, I didn't really do the levels. Actually, interesting. I did make levels for Doom, but when it came to Navy SEALs and Action Quake and Counter Strike, I didn't make the levels. Partly because I didn't have time to. I was just because I spent most of the time just programming and making the
Yeah,
weapons and the
you were a
characters.
one-man army most of the time.
Yeah. So basically, I just realized I didn't have the time to make the levels. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Was
Yeah.
Navy SEALs your first modding endeavor? Your first like finished project or
Yeah.
started
I would
project?
say so. Yeah. It was probably my first mod, because prior to making Navy Seals, I just made like levels for Doom. So I would make these levels for Doom, and I would just basically, they were just like levels. They didn't really include like weapons or characters. They were just basically Doom levels. So I basically just took the Doom editor and I just placed like Doom enemies and stuff like that. So yeah,
Yeah,
Navy Seals was the very first mod where I actually created new. Uh, um, they call it back then. They call it like a total conversion, basically, where you
yeah.
actually redo all of the weapons and all of the enemies.
Yeah,
So
it's not a custom Quake campaign, but it's a unique
yeah,
story and everything. Well, as
yeah,
much as possible is remodeled.
yeah, yeah, exactly, yeah, yeah. But yeah, this is cool. Brings back a lot of memories. A lot of these levels actually I didn't get a chance to play them because after I finished the Navy SEALs mod, I actually kind of took a break, and I because um, I took a break because I started university, so I was really busy and I couldn't really work on Navy SEALs anymore. So a lot of these levels they were made after I finished working on Navy SEALs. But the
Hmm.
community they were still very active. Like there were still a lot of people playing Navy SEALs, so they would actually make these levels. Um, yeah,
I take it this
after I
mod was
stopped
very
working.
popular.
It was it was pretty popular. I wouldn't say it was like hugely successful. Like because at the time I think there was other mods that were more popular, like Team Fortress. That was really
Yeah,
popular.
yeah,
But I think Navy Seals was fairly popular because it was like a single player mod. Most of the other mods they were like multiplayer mods, so you had to play them PvP. But this mod was kind of cool because you can kind of play them with AI, and so
yeah.
it was pretty fun.
I would also assume that the aesthetic was something very unique for its time.
Yeah, because most of the other mods they didn't really like they just kind of reused the Quake enemies, so it wasn't really like
Yeah,
it still felt like Quake, but with this Navy Seals mod, I tried to make it feel more like a different theme, like Navy Seals. So
yeah,
so that's
yeah.
why I kind of replaced a lot of the characters, and
I
it
mean,
was pretty fun. I made like different anime AI, like yeah.
I mean, a total conversion is a pretty huge endeavor in of itself for these old mods. Did you ever feel like overwhelmed when working at this mod? Did you ever like question like, oh, why did I have to start exactly with a total conversion? You know, maybe could have started with something simple, or did you just enjoy the process so much that
Yeah, I just I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much that I just really loved working on it. The only reason I stopped working on it was because, as I said, I started university and I just didn't have time to keep working on it. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I just loved the whole process, like of creating the guns and creating the enemies. And yeah, it was really addictive, to be honest. I just um yeah, this is my very first. experience like creating a game, I would say. So I just kind of fell in love with it, and no, it didn't feel overwhelming, and like I wasn't stressed out at all. It was just I was just having a blast making these games, making
Yeah.
these. Yeah.
Yeah, well, these are still the early
Mm.
days, so you're still a
Yeah. Yeah.
young kid
Yeah.
full of passion and energy.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, I think at the time I was just finishing high school, so I was probably 17 or 18. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
So
if you're starting university, then that means you were
yeah. Yeah.
18,
I was
19 when you
17, 18. Yeah.
when you finished the
Yeah.
mod.
Yeah. I was probably 18. 18. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
18. So, what do you remember where you uploaded this mod and your reaction to the reception towards it? Like, did it feel
Uh.
inspiring that everybody liked it so much?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, there was this website. I think it was called Planet Half Life. No, not Planet Half Life. This is before Half Life. So
Yeah,
there was a website that basically hosted a lot of mods.
like Planet
I can't remember the
Half-Life.
name of it. Yeah, it was similar to Planet Half Life, but um, basically I just kind of uploaded the mod there, and yeah, when I started getting people playing it, it started off kind of slow, but eventually it kind of picked up pretty fast because there wasn't many other mods like this. So people kind of they kind of enjoyed it because they like seeing these realistic guns like the MP5 and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they like seeing that.
It,
It
it
was one of the very first mods
yeah, it was
that
definitely
have
one of
that. Like
it
yeah,
was definitely a unique concept because back then, considering there was only Quake,
Rainbow Six,
Wolfenstein,
yeah,
and yeah, and well,
Rainbow
but
Six, yeah,
besides Rainbow Six, there wasn't really any other military anti-terrorism operations
yeah,
game for PC
yes,
that,
yes,
especially
right.
multiplayer, because Rainbow Six, the originals, are all single player.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. This was what one of the very first military FPS games
Yeah,
available at the time.
and we can also see here the very evident love for the your favorite MP5,
Numberman.
even
Yeah,
even in these old projects.
my MP5 is probably my favorite gun. I put it in every. I try to put it in every game that I work on. So it
Uh-huh.
pretty much has been. It's definitely my favorite. Uh, yeah, gun probably. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So moving
Yeah.
on to to good old Action Quake 2. So
Oh damn! This mod was fun. Yeah.
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 Oops. So Action Quake 2. You took part in this project because you liked it and wanted to improve upon their previous mod,
Mhm.
Action Quake 1, or were you sort of a founder? Because sometimes I would find conflicting
Yeah.
information.
Okay.
Somewhere,
Yeah.
someplace
So
it would
let me
say, okay, yeah, go
so
ahead.
let me explain this to you. Okay, so basically what happened was, so I took a break from Navy SEALs, right?
Yeah,
And about a year after that, I wanted to get back into modding.
yeah,
And so I wanted to make Navy SEALs 2. I wanted to make Navy SEALs Quake 2. But when I came back into the Navy SEALs community, I found out that this other guy, this other team, they basically took over the Navy SEALs IP. They put up a website and they called themselves Navy SEALs Quake 2. And they basically said, no, if you want to make Navy SEALs Quake 2, you have to work for me, and you basically have to basically I'm the leader, and you basically have to do what I do, what I tell you to do. So I was like, well, no, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make Navy SEALs Quake 2 like my own way. So I basically I gave up on Navy SEALs Quake 2, and I basically I stumbled upon this mod, Action Quake 2, and I liked it. I just said, wow, this game looks really cool. And at the time, I already had created a bunch of these models for Navy SEALs Quake 2, and I approached this mod. I said, hey, I really love your mod, but do you guys want me to help out with weapon animations? Because I felt like they didn't really have very good animations and they didn't have really
mm-hmm.
good weapons. So that's what I offered them. I said basically, I wanna join your team, and I want to be able to help. I would create weapons for you guys. So I created like the MP5. I created like the sniper rifle. Um, this shotgun I didn't create, but I created a lot of guns for them. So yeah, that's basically how I joined this Action Quake 2 team. So at the time, the team was probably they had like 4 or 5 guys on it, and they were pretty successful. So this sniper rifle I created that one. It was this is a this is a SIG SSG 2000 sniper rifle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at the time I really loved that rifle. But so yeah, I created like a bunch of these guns for Action Quake 2, because I really loved the game. I thought it was a lot of fun, and
Okay, so
so yeah,
you were a part of the team and you made the weapon models for it. You didn't have
yes,
a hand
yep.
in any other part of it.
I did create one of the character models for it. Like there was this character model. He basically was a special forces guy. So I created that
Uh-huh.
one. So I didn't create these guys. See those guys were created by. Actually, those guys are they're just like basically the standard Quake 2 models, but they just reskinned them. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought they looked kind of cheesy, and I offered to create a military special forces character for them, and you'll see that in some of the video YouTubes. But yeah, so I created like most of the guns for them, and I created like one of the character models. But that's about it. I didn't really do anything else for them. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't do any of the levels. Yeah, I didn't do that. No.
Yeah, okay. Well, you'd be kind of surprised to find that this game, Action Quake 2, still has a very underground, I don't know what to call it, minuscule but dedicated community still kind of playing it. It's also on Steam,
Yeah.
but of course it's just called AAQ2 or
Yeah.
Action Q2,
Yeah.
just removing the Quake name
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
use
No,
it.
it's crazy. Yeah. The weird thing is because they actually this team, I think they made an Action Half-Life as well. So I think that one's kind of an improvement upon this one. So I'm kind of surprised people play this one instead of the. I guess there's a community that like kind of plays both, but yeah, it's kind of interesting. People still play this even though it's still very old, and but this game actually Quake 2. It was the very first game that had like a round-based system where if you died, you couldn't respawn. So I kind of borrowed that idea and put it in the Counter-Strike. Yeah.
Yeah, but still,
It
it's
was a lot
not
of fun.
exactly a tactical FPS considering that people are flying
No,
across the
it
map in
was.
typical
Yeah.
action Quake
It's
fashion.
way faster. It's way faster. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's one of the things that I wanted to kind of move away. I thought it was a bit too fast. Yeah.
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 You really
But
wanted something like
more
Rainbow
grounded.
Six.
Like when,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
lot more grounded. And of course,
Yeah.
when Half-Life came out, that gave you the opportunity. So did you
Yeah.
originally first play Half-Life? Were you like really impressed by it and like, yeah,
Yeah.
I got a mod for this game. I can actually make my passion project.
Yeah, yeah. So I played Half-Life, and then I kind of fell in love with just the game. I thought it was a really great engine, and one of the things that I really liked about it is because most of the game took place in like a modern setting. It was
Yeah.
like basically kind of like a real life setting. Whereas Quake and Unreal and all that, it was fantasy. It was like sci-fi almost kind of. And so it was hard for me to make a mod because I had to like redo so many graphics. But with Half-Life, I didn't really have to redo a lot because a lot of the guns in Half-Life they were kind of similar to what I was trying to create with Counter-Strike. So that's why I chose the Half-Life engine because I just when I
Even
played it, I thought, yeah, this is pretty close to what I want to make with Counter-Strike. Because at the time I was really into like counterterrorism, like I was really into like the GIGN, like GSG9, like the SAS, and all those kind of cool things. And so I read a lot about them, and I just wanted to make a game based on that. So basically like Rainbow Six kind of thing.
yeah, yeah.
But when I played Half-Life, I felt this was the perfect chance because Half-Life is a game. It's based in real life, and they even have a lot of the weapons that like real life guns have. Like they had an MP5.
Yeah, the SMG in
And
Half-Life is loosely based on the
yeah,
MP5.
yep,
I hope 19-year-old Min Lee was very enthralled to see his favorite weapon
yeah,
represented in Half-Life with a grenade launcher attached.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. It was. I mean, obviously, I thought it was kind of like a it was a perfect opportunity because they had like the Glock. They had like an MP5. I think they had like an M4. No, they didn't.
No,
They had some kind of rifle. I don't know what it was. I can't remember. M4.
there is an M4, but it's just a reskinned MP5 in like Half-Life Opposing Force in one of the
Oh
expansions.
yeah. Right, yeah, exactly. They didn't have an assault rifle. They just had the MP5.
Yeah,
So and they had a shotgun. They had the SPAS 12 shotgun. Yeah.
yeah. The only automatic was the SMG, and then you have the pistol, a shotgun, and then everything else were kind of like
Just
sci-fi,
sci-fi.
the
Yeah.
alien
Yeah, yeah,
weapons, and the crossbow, of
yeah, yeah.
course, is the other one.
Right, the crossbow. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was a cool game because I thought that a lot of the guns were based in reality, and so that
yeah.
was fun.
It was a great
Yeah.
basis to start your actual passion
Yeah.
project. Now that you can
Yeah.
employ the movement that you wanted, the
Mhm.
more realistic movement that you wanted.
Yeah, yeah, that too. But I think most of it was because the game was a lot of the graphics in Half-Life, they were kind of modern settings. So
Hmm.
so like a lot of the very first levels that we made for Counter-Strike, they actually used a lot of the Half-Life assets. So we
Yeah,
didn't have to create a lot of nukes. Like we didn't have to create a lot of textures or those kind of things. They actually already had a lot of props that we could kind of borrow
yeah.
for the very first
Yeah.
levels. So,
A lot of the textures and props in the
mhm.
original CS are just
Yeah,
straight up
yeah,
from Half Life.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, like the very first betas. Yeah.
Yeah,
But this one DE Dust, I remember the guy who made DE Dust. He was inspired by some screenshots from Team Fortress 2,
yeah,
and so that's kind of why he based it in that kind of that setting.
yeah. Because
Based.
back then, Valve was sort of working with the Team Fortress team to make a sequel, and it was going to be called
Yeah, yeah,
TF2 Brotherhood of Arms,
yeah,
and it was
yeah,
going to be
yeah,
on the Gold Source engine, and there were some screenshots, and one of them kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
looked like,
It looked a lot like DE Dust. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
exactly. And yeah, this brings back memories. This is probably beta 4 or beta 5. Yeah.
You're close. It's beta 6.1. It's a little bit more
Oh,
stable.
okay, okay,
You
yeah,
can
beta
see the
6. Because
models
I
are a little bit
recognize,
more rendered.
yeah, 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 I recognize the player models. See, I created these player models. I think after beta 7, Valve they created player models and they replaced my player models.
Yeah,
But
but theirs are
up until beta 7,
kind
mhm,
of loosely based on yours. You can see here the lead crew. He's
yeah,
just kind of
yeah,
like
yeah, the lead
he's
crew, yeah,
still sort of
yeah.
the same.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, they were basically based on the same, but they just kind of updated the textures and they kind of made it look a bit better for sure. Yeah. But the weapon models they kind of kept mine. They didn't really change the weapon models. Yeah.
Yeah, they're more
Those
so
those are, those are still, yeah. Those are
better
still those are
quality.
still my animations. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this map. Oh, God, I remember this map. This map was crazy. There was like this train. I think this train would kind of. I think we had a moving train on this map. Yeah, it was crazy,
Yeah.
man. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like that train. Yeah, that's right. I remember this map. This map was fucking nuts. So that moving train, and you can actually jump on the train and basically kind of ride it around the map. And
Yeah, there were two
I forgot.
trains riding in different directions. It was
Yeah,
just called
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Railroad.
yeah. Railroad. But was it a hostage rescue or I forgot
No,
what this was?
no. It's bomb
Bomb
planted.
defusal.
Yeah, it came out in
Oh, okay. Yeah. Holy fuck! I
beta
remember this map.
5, I think.
Dude.
I mean, if you really want a
Yeah,
nostalgia trip, I do
fun.
have
Yeah.
the I do have I do have all the CS betas, but we don't have a server for that
Yeah, yeah.
right now. But
Oh yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah.
yeah, but
No, no, this is a mansion. Yeah, obviously,
yeah,
fucking crazy. I love
anyway, yeah,
the very first map.
we could probably sit here all day, but we don't have all day because
Yeah, yeah,
you're just gonna be
yeah.
exhausted and your throat is
Oh
gonna be
yeah, yeah,
sore from talking all day. I wouldn't mind,
no,
turning on
yeah,
the CS beta and just going back in time with you. Uh,
yeah, no. But
may,
yeah, I remember this. This is beta one.
yeah,
Oh, sorry,
maybe
but
we
this
could
is a
do it.
mansion. Yeah,
No, it's still beta 6. It's not that janky.
yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah, for sure.
we did events, we've done events on the beta versions of CS. Well, setting up a server is still possible, and there are a few
Yeah.
niche communities that still, like, every Saturday, there's this one community
Okay.
that every Saturday they play CS beta 6.5 because it's the most stable beta.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
earlier ones I've kind of tried them by
Mm.
myself, and for recording video footage, and yeah, the first beta, it still works. The groundwork is there,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's
Super
very
buggy.
janky,
Yeah.
and setting up a server is probably
Yeah.
going to be a nightmare. Anyway,
And I remember the shotgun was broken. Yeah, the shotgun, you can kill someone from like across the map using the shotgun. It was so unbalanced.
oh yeah, because I think like weapon fall off and the damage wasn't
Yeah,
really
yeah,
a thing.
yeah, yeah. It was the weapons were really unbalanced in beta one for sure.
Yeah,
But
yeah. But were the
yeah,
animations of the models by you too, not just
yep,
the
yeah.
texture?
I created all the animations, all the character models. What did I use? I think I used 3D Studios Max. Yeah.
Yeah, very
Yeah, I think
primitive version.
yeah, yeah, it was one of the earlier versions of 3D Studios Max. So I created them and I created the animations in Max. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it was still much better than using the tools that I use for Navy SEALs. It was way more polished for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I remember that the op, that crosshair.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's crazy.
Well, but perhaps if you're interested, we could do it as like a maybe separate thing where
Yeah.
we go down memory lane. You know, I could we could start from the first beta and then up to release CS and
Yeah.
dive into the nitty gritty. But you know, for today,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
have something. We got a lot more to talk about. So
Sure.
you know,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I have been always curious to ask you, from your passion and interests with military counterterrorism operations and all that, were you always interested from a gamer perspective for games, or did you ever have like some vague interest in actually joining the military? Maybe not as a soldier, but let's say you're like a
Yeah.
gunsmith, since you also like weapons a lot.
Yeah, no. I always had that. I always had a love for like military. It was probably because I watched a lot of movies. I watched a lot of Rambo and all these types of movies like Heat. I watched Heat and all that stuff. So I was influenced by movies mostly. I never really had the passion to join the police or anything because I was kind of like a skinny kid. I was kind of scrawny, and I kind of knew that I wasn't really going to be a good police officer. I just kind of I just enjoyed the theme of it because I watched a lot of movies, and also I played a lot of games like Rainbow Six and Ghost Recon. Ghost Recon was pretty popular back then. I
Yeah.
remember playing a lot of Ghost Recon. Um, but yeah, it was mostly just from movies actually. Watching tons of movies, and yeah.
So did you basically equate to like the nerd kid at school who just likes video games and movies and
Yeah,
programming?
I was pretty yeah, I was pretty like pretty much like that. I was just kind of like I had a group of friends, and we kind of love we love playing certain games, and like military games was definitely one of them. I would play like Rainbow Six with them. So yeah, it was mostly I was kind of like I was kind of like, I wouldn't say antisocial, but I was like just kind of like one of those kids that played like video games more than
Yeah.
like I didn't really do sports or anything.
You had
So
specific
yeah.
interests that really didn't align with the majority at school.
Yeah, I mean, I guess yeah, I guess you can say that. I mean, we had our own clique. Like, I had a group of like six or seven friends, and we would play tons of games, like Dungeons and Dragons,
Hmm.
like mostly in the arcade games. Because in the arcade, they had a Dungeons and Dragons where you can play with 4 players. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, I know those,
Um,
like they were like beat 'em ups, Dungeons and
yeah, yeah.
Dragons beat 'em ups.
So you can play 4 players, and you would just like
Yeah.
yeah, and then you can throw potions and stuff. Yeah, and it was like side scrolling, and yeah, it was cool. It was kind of like Golden Axe, but you can play with 4 players.
Yeah, yeah,
So that was a lot of fun. Yeah,
yeah.
this is a
I've played those. That was awesome.
CS Office. Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah.
was like
Is this Office? Is it CS Office?
yeah,
It
yeah,
looks like
yeah. It's
they
CS
look like
Office, but it's just a
okay,
slightly
very
earlier
old.
version. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't recognize the textures. I guess it's so old that it's been a while, but yeah, it's
yeah, yeah.
yeah. I remember when this was first released. I really loved this map because I really enjoyed the close quarters maps more than like the larger open maps. I like the MP5, so I like running and gunning. So these smaller maps, they were better for the MP5. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they make sense. But yeah, but about D&D, since I've also played some of them, there were a lot of like D&D beat 'em ups. There was like Tower of Doom
Yep.
is one of them.
Yeah.
Another one
Yes.
is
Yeah. I played them all. Yeah.
yeah, Shadow
And
over Mistara. Like,
yes.
and they were
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
cool because they were not just like your regular beat 'em up or just go around.
No.
You
No.
press punch twice on a guy, he dies. Then you had like special
Had
moves and
potions.
even spells
Yeah.
and potions. Yeah, they were
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
involved. Like they were awesome beat 'em
Yeah.
ups. Uh,
Yeah. So I played that a lot
yeah.
with my friends. Yeah,
I was
we love
just
playing co-op games. Yeah.
I was just also kind of reminiscing because I didn't I kind of grew up with arcades, but I kind of as a teenager I kind of had this phase where I would install an arcade emulator, and I just went through
Emulators.
a lot of arcade games. Yeah, I played a ton of them, and I loved beat 'em ups. Like if you know Cadillacs and Dinosaurs is one that I really liked.
Yeah, kind of rings a bell. I didn't play it too much, but I've seen that one. But yeah, I played a lot of beat 'em ups in the arcade.
Yeah,
Double
did you?
Dragon, I played all the Double Dragons. Yeah.
Yeah. Capcom was really good at beat 'em ups. They were king. Like the D&Ds are by Capcom. Like
Yeah,
they were at the
Yeah,
peak, and Konami
Capcom.
too.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Did you go to
but
internet
yeah.
cafes besides arcades?
Actually, they weren't so popular where I grew up. So I'm from Vancouver, and we didn't have too many internet cafes. It's not like in Asia where they had tons.
Yeah.
So in Vancouver, we probably didn't have as many. And so back then, I would just play at home. So when I was making Counter Strike, there wasn't any internet cafes. Internet cafes started becoming popular in probably 2002 or something.
Yeah.
And so at the time, I was kind of like at the later stages of Counter Strike,
I mean,
and yeah.
in a post Counter Strike, Quake 3, and Unreal Tournament world where multiplayer was a more focal point when it comes to PC video games, that kind of makes sense why internet cafes really started picking up after that.
Yeah, for sure. They started blowing up after Counter Strike. So, but yeah, I never really, uh, I never actually played in an internet cafe. Probably just like once in my life.
Some people sometimes also confuse like who actually created CS, and of course, if you look it up, it's obvious. Then you were the programmer, and Jess Cliffe was managing the community side of things, and he's also cited as a co-creator. But with him not having a direct hand at the development, would you say that he contributed enough to be called a co-creator? Like, did both of you work together equally as a team?
Well, we each had our own roles. So I was mostly focused on basically programming, like the animation, creating the characters and the weapons. And so he was focused on the community, like community engagement.
And the
Like he
website.
basically managed all of the level designers.
Yeah.
So basically everybody that created the levels for the game, he would actually like review them, and basically he would actually sometimes work closely with the level designers as well to kind of like give some suggestions on how to improve the level. So basically we each had our own roles, and I think it's fair to say that he was heavily involved in it, because at the time it was really just me and him that were basically and also the level designers. Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say that he was the co-creator, because he was the very first person to approach me. Because when I first made Counter Strike, I created like this website, and I put it on the internet, and he was the very first one to see that website. And basically, he basically approached me and said, "Hey, I really like this idea, and I want to help out because at the time he had a lot of experience working with level designers, because he used to have this website that would host a lot of they would basically host a lot of levels for Action Quake. So basically people would submit levels to his website, and then he would basically kind of like review them, and kind of just basically kind of like put the best levels up there. And then basically, so he had a lot of connections with level designers, and so he was able to work closely with all of the level designers, and basically just kind of like coordinate like with them, and to basically kind of tell them, okay, this is what we need for Counter-Strike. So like, for example, when we first came up with the idea of bomb defusal, basically he would tell them, okay, this is how the bomb diffuser works. You need to place like the bomb here, and these are the entities that you. So basically, he was kind of like the middleman between myself and all the level designers.
Yeah, and kind of
And
acting as a
so
project manager.
yeah, I think that's a good way to describe it. He was basically kind of like managing like a lot of the other like the stuff that I didn't really have time to focus on, like public relations, like stuff like dealing like with websites, because we had to like host the game on all of these websites, and so he had to like upload it to them, and basically he had to talk to the web, like a lot of the website owners, and to basically tell them, hey, we made this new game, this is the game, and like basically kind of like explain to them what kind of game this was. And he just handled all of that stuff, like public relations management was really important, because without that, I think the community would have a hard time kind of like just dealing with me, because I was too busy. So I was just like,
I mean, when you put it like that, yeah, it does sound like he did contribute a lot to the project, and
yeah,
it
I think,
probably wouldn't have been the same without him.
yeah, yeah, yeah. For sure, yeah, and I really enjoyed working with him. He gave me a lot of feedback on a lot of the game like stuff. Like when I added certain features, he would kind of say, this one doesn't feel so right, and then we would kind of like discuss it. And so he was kind of like a good sounding board for me to kind of just kind of get some feedback from, before we actually beta tested the games. So, but yeah, I would say he was a very big part of the game's success, for sure.
So another thing I wanted to ask, and for this I'm going to bring up a sort of infamous screenshot that's been thrown around the internet, and it's this. Now it is said that you came up with Counter-Strike, the name of the game, on an IRC chat with Cliffe.
Cliffy.
And is this screenshot real?
Yeah, that's real. Yeah,
it's real.
For sure. I remember that conversation. So I think what happened was, so basically we were kind of we were throwing names around, and I'm not sure if he brought up Counter-Strike or if I brought up Counter-Strike, but I don't know who brought it up originally, but I kind of brought up a few ideas. So I think one of them was counter-terrorist forces, and then yeah, basically this screenshot was basically how we settled on Counter-Strike. But I honestly don't remember who came up with the name,
because some
originally.
recent information suggests that you came up with it from the French-Canadian TV show also called Counter-Strike from the late 80s.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. That probably makes sense, because then I was probably the one, because that name, I remember watching that TV series, and I thought the name sounded kind of cool. So I might have been the one to suggest it then. So yeah, then. Okay. I think what I said was, oh, what do you think about these two names? And then he basically thought Counter-Strike sounded cool, because of that. But I do remember basing it on that TV series, because I remember watching that series, and I just thinking that was a cool name. Yeah,
that makes sense, because in that case you suggested it to him, but Counter-Strike, the name was also just derived from the TV show itself.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where I got it from. Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to ask about the CS beta, or just CS overall during these development stages. Was there a concrete idea you had of what you wanted CS to be back then, or is its development kind of and evolution based on community feedback? Because I look at the beta, and like I've told you, we've played it, and we've played it on multiplayer, and there's so much it experiments with. It has all of these weird things about it. It seems like there were some more objective focused concepts, but eventually it did evolve into just more so about the shooting rather than the map objectives.
So yeah, well, okay. So to answer your question, a lot of the ideas I basically kind of like, I took them from basically reading what counter-terrorists did in real life. So for example, like the assassination, VIP escort, hostage rescue, like prison escape, those kind of things. I read them from like websites, and I thought I tried to make them into the game, but as we were playtesting them in the betas, we kind of realized some of these game modes weren't as fun as they sounded on paper.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, a lot of those ideas, they came from me, from reading websites, from just reading about counter-terrorists and how they operated. So when I came up with the assassination mode, I basically I read about counter-terrorists. I know that the certain missions they have to escort high VIPs. And so I wanted to make a mission based on that. So I just felt like, okay, so let's start the counter terrorists like that. It's a pretty simple game mode, one to actually I also inspired by I think Team Fortress. At the time they also had a VIP game mode as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I kind of took their game mode, and I kind of copied it, and I just felt like I just made it into Counter Strike mode, and it's pretty much the same as the same game mode in Team Fortress. Like you start with a VIP, and I remember I gave the VIP I remember the very first time we created that game mode. I gave the VIP like an MP5, and he was so powerful because I gave him an MP5 and he had twice as much armor, and so he would go around killing the terrorists, and then eventually we realized, okay, shit, this guy's OP, so we had to like tone it down, and I think we settled on giving him. I think I just ended up giving him a pistol, right?
Yeah,
I think I just
a
gave him a
USP
pistol.
with one magazine.
Yeah, that's right. So we had to settle on that. But yeah, initially he was super OP. Like he was running around killing the terrorists so easily. So yeah, we basically kind of like we toned it down a bit. And I think at one point we even considered giving him no weapons, but then that was super unbalanced. So we just settled on a USP. But that game was fun. I mean, there were some great maps that came out of it, but unfortunately, the community didn't really enjoy it because it was not super balanced.
Yeah.
It was too unbalanced for the counter terrorists. I think most of the time the terrorists would win that map. Yeah, yeah. This is oil rig.
Yeah.
Oh man, I think this is the very first VIP map, oil rig. This is an awesome map. That was awesome.
Well, from
It
what
was
I
one of the-
what
one
I
of the
remember,
first.
yeah, it was one of the first, but it was also the only popular one and the only surviving one.
Yeah.
So assassination wasn't
Oh,
exactly axed
yeah,
for
yeah,
for,
yeah.
for some reason. It only remained with a singular map called Oil Rig.
Yeah, oil rig. Shit. Okay, yeah, this was the most popular. I do remember the very first one. The very first one was, I forgot the name of it, but
Tundra.
you had to escort. Yeah, maybe that was one. Oh no, that wasn't the first one, but that was one of them. It was like an ice level. That was pretty cool too.
Yeah,
But oil rig was popular. Yeah.
yeah, Tundra was very popular, but unfortunately, it didn't make the cut.
Yeah. I thought this was in one of our betas. I could have swore that we included this in one of the betas, but
It was included
yeah,
in the betas.
yeah, it was in the betas, but it wasn't included in the official 1.1.0. I don't think.
No,
Yeah.
no. But I think in beta 6.5 or beta 7, most of the assassination maps were removed. I might be wrong on that. There might have been
Yeah.
3 just oil rig, Tundra,
Yeah.
and the other.
And there was one that was one in the jungle. There was one that was in the jungle.
AS Forest, I think it was just called.
Yeah, AS Force. Yeah, that one was pretty cool. It had like a jungle, and
Yeah.
I remember that one. That was
I actually really liked AS High Rise, where he like on the top floor and you
that's
gotta
the one.
escort to
That's
the roof.
That's the one. Yes, that's the one that I'm remembering the most. You had to escort the VIP through these buildings, and then the last stage was you on the top of the roof.
Yeah, there it
and
is.
that was high rise. This one was cool too. But yeah, oh yeah, this one I remember. This one.
Yeah.
This was cool.
I thought this one had a
Yeah.
really cool concept, but unfortunately, like because you had to climb ropes to get on the top. Well, there are staircases, but you had to
Yeah,
climb
I know.
ropes. But unfortunately, just led to the terrorists camping the ropes. So you just
Yeah. This one was too easy for the terrorists, but I remember this one really well. This was fun. Damn, this brings back memories, man.
yeah,
Those
yeah.
textures were huge.
Yeah, unfortunately, High Rise and Forest I think were removed in
Yeah.
Beta 5, and that's when only Tundra, Oil Rig, and I think High Rise. Maybe these 3 only remained until after
Yeah.
release.
Damn, I remember that.
Only
Yeah.
Oil Rig was
Yeah.
left. Yeah, here they are. Here's the ropes.
Yeah.
And just
Yep. Yeah, I remember that.
all the terrorists
Yeah.
would be up there waiting for for everyone to
Yeah.
push.
You know, hey, do you ever wonder what that word pop dog, that sign pop dog? Do you know where that's from? Pop dog?
You're the company that you worked for. I know
Yeah,
my
Barking
lore.
Dog.
Yeah, Barking Dog
Yeah, okay.
Studios.
Barking Dog.
Yeah, well,
Barking Dog Studios. Yeah.
yeah, we'll get to that too. So
Yeah, they made Beta 5. Yeah.
yeah. Since this is kind of from Beta 5, this is where Barking Dog Studios started getting involved.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask because it's relatively unknown, but do you have any memory of like where did bomb defusal come from? You said it come from just researching military operations and all of that.
Yep.
But how was
Yeah, yeah.
how was the concept put into place in the game with like, oh, we need to have 2 bomb sites and only one of the terrorists can have the bomb and all that? You remember
Okay,
any sort of?
so yeah, I remember. So basically, I got the idea from just reading about like terrorist bombings, because at the
Yeah.
time, there was a lot of car bombings, right?
Yeah.
So basically, terrorists, they would plant bombs in cars and then they would just kind of blow them up. And I thought it would be cool to make a game mode based on that. So I think originally, when we came up with the mode, I think I had more than 2 bomb sites. Like we had like 3 bomb sites, but we settled on 2 because we realized this is probably the best for balance. Because having 3 was just so hard for the counter
Are
terrorists.
you talking
It was just
about
like,
during the production staging builds
yeah,
of the beta,
yeah,
or do you mean
yeah.
like any map in particular?
No, I don't think we actually released any maps with
There's
3.
one.
But during the production stages, or there might have been one that was officially released. But eventually, it quickly became apparent that we had to limit it to 2 bomb sites. But when we were coming up with the idea, yeah, we tried to kind of come up with how many sites there should be. So I think yeah, we kind of experimented with 3 at one point. But yeah, the concept was pretty simple. It was like we kind of knew the terrorists had to have the bomb, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Right? So we knew, okay, we're gonna give the terrorists the bomb, and we knew that we wanted to have him go to somewhere in the map, and he had to just place it somewhere.
Yeah.
And yeah, basically it was a pretty simple concept, to be honest. It was like, did we? I mean, was I inspired by anything else? I mean, maybe capture the flag.
Yeah, that's
No,
vaguely.
but I think, yeah,
Maybe it's
to be
vaguely
honest,
related.
the idea basically just came from just reading about how, I was just reading about car bombings. How terrorists would just basically, they would just go hide bombs in cars and just kind of set them off.
And were you
And then
surprised how balanced it actually turned out to be and how popular?
yeah, I guess I was. I wasn't expecting it to be like the standard Counter-Strike game mode, because actually when I first came up with Counter-Strike, I thought it would be like a game about hostage rescue, mostly, because that's basically what they do most of the time.
Yeah.
But when the bomb diffuser mode was released, it quickly became apparent that this was the most balanced mode, and eventually the community, they just started making maps for this mode because of how popular it was, and just yeah, and eventually it just kind of, it became the standard
Yeah.
Counter-Strike mode after that. It was just,
Eventually, you
but
started
I still,
leaning on it
yeah,
because it was so
yeah.
popular.
Yeah, and mostly because it started becoming there started becoming more pro tournaments, pro leagues.
Yeah.
Because at the time, when we first made Counter Strike, there was nobody playing the game like professionally, or like
Yeah.
like in esports environment. It wasn't until like we introduced the bomb diffuser. That's when that's when professional leagues started forming, and people were playing the game on a kind of like a competitive level. So I think that's when the bomb diffuser mode started becoming much more popular. Oh, F
Yeah.
option. Oh God,
Yeah,
I remember
this
that.
is
Yeah.
this is the map
Oh,
that
dude, I remember
had
this map.
3
Yeah,
bomb
yeah.
sites. This is the only
It
official
was
map.
made. It was based on like Fallout, because the guy that's made this game, he was a big
Oh.
fan of Fallout. So he based the map based on the Fallout, because in Fallout they had these vaults, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh.
so you'll notice that in part of the map, he had these vaults there. I remember the guy that made this. His name is Poor Uric.
Yeah.
He's a really good mapper. He made a bunch of maps for us. But yes, he made this map F option. Yeah, this is cool. I can't.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
I remember this
John,
map. This is super cool.
John Atea, poor Uric.
John Atea. Yeah, that's his name.
Yeah,
Poor Uric.
Yeah, he actually
made a bunch of maps.
He actually had a beta version of option called Zoption, which is even jankier than this. I don't remember if it had 3 bomb sites, but yeah, but Option is crazy. It's very huge and expensive. There's a lot of corridors and moving elevators that'll kill you when they touch you. Just typical Gold Tours buggy stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, this was probably the very first bomb map, I think. Yeah, God, this brings back memories. I remember this one very well.
Well,
Um,
in the general scheme, it's not exactly known which one is the first, because when you release betas, you
no.
release them in clumps of maps.
Yeah,
So
right, exactly. Yeah.
people very often speculate which was exactly the first ever CS map, but in reality, the first beta of CS released with Weapon Depot,
Mansion.
Mansion, and
Yes.
two more. I forgot which.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert, but
It
yeah.
took place. It took place in a prison. Like I think there was like it wasn't like man. Anyways, I forgot the name of it.
Yeah,
But it was
we'll check him out.
mansion.
We'll check him out someday. Anyway,
But anyways, yeah,
yeah,
this was the option.
yeah. Is there anything?
There was another yeah.
Uh,
There's another map that kind of reminds me. Prodigy. This kind of reminds me of Prodigy. DE Prodigy. That was an
oh,
awesome map.
yeah, okay.
DE Prodigy.
Yeah, Prodigy was actually a little bit pop. Oh, by the way, thank you, Silver Soldier, for all this CS beta footage. Thank you very
Oh,
much.
nice.
I see you in chat. Anyway, yes, here
Mm.
is good old Prodigy. This was
Yes,
this was
this
a very
map.
popular
Holy
map.
fuck, dude! I love this map because it was tight. It had these insane firefights in like like a lot of these hallways. They had like really tight firefights. So like
Yeah.
I love maps that have like really like areas where there's like tons of firefights. Like right here, that area, there was like so much fighting going on. It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
crazy.
You instantly meet with the enemy team and you start shooting at each
Yeah,
other.
yeah, yeah. This is a cool map.
Yeah.
I forgot who made this map. D Prodigy.
It was actually a guy called Hobbit, Alexander
Oh,
Manilov, the guy
Hobbit.
who
Yes, that's right.
made Office
Hobbit.
2.
Yes, Siege. He also made Siege. No, wait,
No,
wait.
no,
Sorry, no.
that's
Did he make
Justin.
Siege?
No,
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 no.
Siege is by Justin DeJong.
Yeah, Justin DeJong. Sorry, yeah. Oh, yeah. That guy made great maps. He made Siege. He made CS Docs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. People have
That's
fond
yeah.
memories of CSCG and Prodigy. Interestingly, Prodigy was actually played in the professional scene very early on in like the year 2000, right when
Oh,
CS
okay.
came out.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
before
It
there
was pretty balanced. I think it was a pretty balanced map, to be
yeah,
honest.
yeah.
Like,
It was
it was
balanced.
bomb defusal. It was pretty balanced. Yeah.
Yeah, it was overall balanced, but I think one of the bomb sites that's inside in one of the offices like very difficult to get to, and there's a lot of unfair
Oh.
wall bangs. So I think that's why it kind of fell off.
Okay.
But initially, it was popular because at first when
Yeah.
the esports scene is still forming and you don't really have
Yeah.
a standard and there wasn't like a map list of like which are the best maps to play, so there were
Yeah.
like pro matches on At Stake, on Prodigy, but these two maps
Yeah.
eventually fell off in favor of Nuke, Train, Inferno,
Yeah.
and Dust 2 when Dust 2 came out.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I remember these player models too. This is like the very first time I introduced the SAS player model,
yeah,
and
yeah, I
one of
think
the very first betas.
yeah, I think this is still beta 6.1. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
in the title.
I
Yeah, beta
remember
6.1.
I remember when I first introduced the SAS, people were making fun of it because he looked kind of like Ant-Man. It was funny. He didn't look very cool. They said he looked like an ant or something, or like an ant eater or something like that. Or anyways.
Yeah, I remember
they-
in one of your
funny.
interviews, actually one of your
That's the model.
live presentations where you showed off some very early screenshots of the lead crew, and you said like people really made fun of him for looking weird.
That was the most funniest moment. Yeah, so basically what happens when I first introduced Lead Crew, when I first made him, he had like these pajamas, right?
Yeah.
And then I was so excited. I said, "Hey Cliffy, post this picture on our website. Show people that what the Lead Crew is gonna look like." And people were like laughing. They were like, "What the fuck, man? That guy looks like Luke Skywalker." No, you probably won't see him. I'll send you a picture of him because people were saying that guy looks like Luke Skywalker. Actually, scroll down. I think you just saw them.
Well,
I think you just saw it. Yeah. If you scroll down a bit, scroll down more.
I think you saw him somewhere.
I thought I saw him. Shit. No. Anyways.
Ah, there it is.
That's the one. So I posted that image. Like Cliffy posted it on our website, and people just laughed. They were like, "What the fuck is that?" They were just making fun of it so much. They were saying he looked like Luke Skywalker, right? Because he does. He kind of looks like Luke Skywalker from Return of the Jedi. And at the time, I didn't know that, right? I wasn't trying to make him look like Luke Skywalker. I just thought I had this idea that I don't know. It probably sounds racist, but at the time, I was seeing a lot of these images of terrorists and they kind of dressed kind of like poorly. And so I thought, hey man, one of these terrorists, they were wearing these like really these ugly looking pajamas, or like, they look like rags. So basically, I kind of based it off of that. But then when people saw that, they were making fun of it, and they were like, okay, fine. It kind of, they made me change the look of it. So eventually we settled on what he would eventually look like,
Yeah,
which
more
was
green,
kind
and
of like,
but the pants are still beige, but with the green
yeah,
shirts and no
yeah,
big
with the green
belt.
shirt, yeah. But he definitely didn't look like Luke Skywalker anymore. He just looked like just some generic dude. Yeah.
And that probably
But
felt
I
awful that
remember,
you were so proud of your work, and then everyone ends up laughing at it.
yeah, it was. It was. I remember it was. I was kind of like. I was kind of like. I guess I was a bit shocked because I thought it looked cool. Because I thought, man, people are gonna love this, and then I posted it, and then I think like it was like 90% of the people that saw it thought it would look like thought it looked stupid, right? So I was a bit depressed, but then eventually we changed it. I kind of came up with something that was a little less like stupid looking, I guess. But anyway, that was probably the biggest controversy that we had with the counter terrorist models. Like the other models, they were pretty well received. Like when I first introduced like the Phoenix, oh sorry, not Phoenix, the Arctic Avengers, like they were wearing this white kind of like snow jacket, and I think when I first introduced it, people thought it looked pretty cool, and yeah, I was kind of happy about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know that? Do you know the what I base some of these guys on? Like, see that guy, Phoenix Faction.
Yeah, the
He was
Phoenix
actually
Phoenix,
based on the, yeah, he was actually based on the IRA, the northern the IRA in Northern Ireland. They had like there were some terrorists back then, and so I did a lot of research on them, and I think one of the images that I saw, he kind of looked like they were wearing like these camouflage pants, and so I based Phoenix Faction on the IRA, the Northern the Irish Republican Army. Yeah.
Oops,
I never really, yeah, I didn't really want to use like the real terrorist names because obviously I don't want to associate with that. So basically, yeah, so lead crew and then Arctic Avengers, yeah, so you sort of see them right there.
yeah.
So lead crew, Arctic Avengers. Oh, there's no Phoenix Faction in there. Oh no, Phoenix Faction.
no,
He's on the
he's
on the
right
right.
there.
He's on the right. There he is. Yeah, he's right there. Yeah. So and then that guy over there. I think he was called Guerrilla Warfare.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was based on. You know, the interesting thing about him is actually he was based on this image that I saw.
He's a lot
It was
like
of
Rambo-ish.
yeah. But the thing is, he wasn't based on Rambo-ish. He was based on this image that I saw from the webs on the internet, and it was from it was from this terrorist group from I think it was from Iraq or something, but it was more of like a Mideastern thing. But people thought he looked kind of like Rambo, and so they associated it with a South American like Mexican cartel group. So they thought he was based on like some kind of South American cartel, and so they eventually just called him like guerrilla warfare, and so that's kind of what we called it for that one. But yeah, that's kind of like the origin stories behind them. Yeah.
And what was the Arctic Avenger based on?
Oh, so he was based on. I saw this image of these of this. I don't think they were terrorists. They were probably just counter terrorists. But they were like they were training in the cold weather. So I think they were like Norwegian special forces, and they were wearing this really cool like white like camouflage uniform, and I thought, wow, that looks kind of cool. So I just thought that I would make him a terrorist because we had this kind of like this strict color palette. So we thought the counter terrorists, they had to be mostly dark, and then the terrorists they can be like bright colors.
Yeah.
So that way the players can kind of tell them apart.
I remember in one of your interviews you said that in the very early betas you got criticism for the player models looking very same-ish.
Yeah.
So you
beta one.
Update
Yeah, beta one.
Yeah, in the first beta.
Yeah, beta one. In beta one, everybody was killing like team killing because they didn't know who was the bad guy. So it was so funny. We were just like we're doing so much team killing. So it was. So I eventually we quickly settled upon the color palette of like having the counter terrorists be black, and then the terrorists they would be like more whiter, kind of like lighter colors.
Yeah, for the people, this is what the the
Yeah,
CT
that's
model
the
looked
very
like.
first. That's the very first counter-terrorist model. Yeah,
Yeah, and this is also
yeah,
one of the
shit.
very first screenshots
Right. Yeah,
from
yeah.
because
Man, it was blocky.
yeah, because this may be even
Yeah, it
like
was blocky.
pre-alpha because the UI
That's
is still
basically, yeah,
Half-Life.
that's Half-Life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's still
Yeah,
Half-Life.
that was the very first. Yeah, this is before Beta 1. This was like, this is like, dude, this was like a pre-alpha version of it, and basically, I was using a lot of Half-Life assets. Yeah. In fact, I think that character model is the Gordon Freeman model. I think what I did was I reskinned the Gordon Freeman model. Yeah, it looks similar. I think I just replaced the head, but I think the body, it looks like
Yeah, I mean
I just took
the
the
pose
Gordon Freeman.
looks almost certainly the same as Gordon Freeman
Gordon,
holding
yeah,
a shotgun.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's the Gordon Freeman model. So basically, that's what it
Yeah,
was.
I
Yeah.
mean for a pre-alpha, what could you expect?
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
it makes sense. Anyway,
Mm.
so I also wanted to ask you: is there anything during the beta days that you wish you could have done but you didn't get to do? Do you remember anything?
Well, we tried like implementing vehicles. I spent a lot of time. I spent like months, like just trying to get the vehicles to work properly. But
Oh yeah,
eventually, I gave up.
we'll get to
But
that too.
we also tried to do shields at one point.
Hmm.
I remember in one beta we introduced shields, but I think we quickly took them away because they were unbalanced. So there was some stuff, some crazy shit that we tried to experiment with.
Yeah.
I did want to add dogs at one point, but I just never really had time to kind of implement
Oh,
that. But
just like you did
it,
in TI eventually.
TI, yeah. Yeah, so basically everything that I did in TI was basically stuff that I couldn't really get right in Counter-Strike. So, but yeah,
Well, there you have it, everybody. From the man himself, everything he didn't get to do in CS, he did
this is in TI, but
in TI. Yeah, because you also said
yeah,
it's at some point that after the success of CS, everything was kind of really set in stone. So there was not really
yeah,
any
yeah.
room to
It was hard.
really experiment with the formula because people really liked it the way it was. So you
Dude,
could only like just
this is
improve
a
upon
this
it.
is a good map. Back
Yeah,
Alley, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
this
I
is
remember this
wonderful.
map, Back Alley. It was made at Barking Dog. When I was working with the Barking Dog team. When we made Beta 5, so Barking Dog Studios, they would make these two maps. So CS Back Alley and DE Train. Yeah. So those were the two maps that Barking Dog made for Counter-Strike Beta 5. And DE Train became really popular.
Yeah,
CS Back Alley was also pretty popular. It was a lot of fun. I think people enjoyed it. Yeah.
but I can't see my mouse.
Yeah.
For some reason, I can't see my mouse. I launched CS, guys, and I can't see my my
Oh,
mouse
okay. I can see it there.
yeah, because I think it's time to just finally launch the game. And as you guys can see, the IP up above, you can wait. Why can't
Yeah,
install
but
the?
Back Alley was a lot of fun. I enjoyed Back Alley a lot. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was it was a really nice looking map too. I mean, it was one of the for the time it was one of the nice looking maps because I remember they created a lot of like new textures. Like these weren't just Half-Life textures.
yeah,
These
yeah.
were like
No, these are
textures that
definitely
we
custom, and so
created.
is
Yeah,
and so is
yeah.
this skybox
Skybox.
too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, this was one of the very
So
early popular ones. Because I think people initially just liked the verticality of this map, but also there's this Easter
mhm.
egg where when you approach this pop dog sign, there's a dog barking sound effect. Yeah.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, that's right. They added that.
I wanted to ask now, after Valve approached you and collaboration began and the rights were sold, did you still lead the project or were you just kind of part of the team at
Yeah.
that point?
No, no. Actually, I was still the leader. So Valve approached me in beta 5. So
Yeah.
I was still working. I was actually working at Barking Dog Studios. I was making a game for them. But when they approached me, they basically told me, okay, we want to buy the rights, but you can still be the leader of Counter Strike. You can still make Counter Strike the same way you made it up to like all up until then. So nothing changed. Actually, I was still doing the same thing that I was doing before, except this time they were paying me to make it. And
Mm-hmm.
but so after beta 5, we stopped working with Barking Dog Studios, and so Beta 6 was made by well, it was still made by me and also the community and everyone else. But there was a few people from Valve that actually started to help out in the development. And I think what they did was I can't remember actually what they did. They did a few things. I think they kind of upgraded some textures, but it was still, see, up until Beta 7, I think I was mostly in charge of the development. After Beta 7, like when Counter-Strike became 1.0, that's when Valve kind of took over, and I didn't really have much to do with Counter-Strike. Yeah.
But
So
you still had,
it was
but
it was
before
it was
that,
up until Beta 7. Yeah.
yeah, but well, up until then, you still had autonomy
Creative.
and
Yeah,
creative freedom over
yeah,
the project.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was still adding like stupid new features and like I think even those vehicles, like when we added the vehicles, that was completely my idea. It was not Valve's. Like Valve never like they never really told me to do that. It was just something that I wanted to add. I think we added the vehicles around Beta 7 or
In
something.
Beta 7, there was an experimental map called Jeepathon 2K, which is for
That's the one.
testing vehicles.
Beta 7. It was buggy as hell though. I remember having so much fun in that map.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Well, interestingly, despite the bugginess of the Funk vehicle entity, which is what drives the is what makes vehicles drivable, there was and still kind of is a small community revolving around fun maps and killing each other with vehicles, despite how buggy they are. I guess people just really, for some reason, appreciate that aspect, and it is fun. We've also played with it a lot on our own time. Anyway, so there's a story from back in the day that you went to a shooting range to test weapons IRL. Is that true? And did it give you any ideas for the game?
Oh yeah, I think yes. It was back when I was working at Barking Dog Studios. So at Barking Dog Studios, we wanted to record sound effects for the guns, so they wanted to create basically just record like the firing and just like all the reload sounds. And so we went to a gun range nearby, and I just was able to shoot a lot of guns with the team at Barking Dog. Yeah. But yeah, definitely. In fact, I have a screenshot of that. I can send it to you. I'm not sure if it's even made public, but it's on my Facebook.
But that would be cool as a first.
No, I'll send it to you right now. It's just on my Facebook. Let me just get it. Basically, yeah. So basically, it's taken from a gun range that we went to nearby.
Is that a picture of you and the team?
Yeah. So it's me and a bunch of guys there. Yeah, I'm here. Okay. It's not the best picture, and in fact, to be honest, you don't really get to see much of it. Hang on, let me just. It's right here. Resolution's really shitty. God, to be honest, it's kind of hard to tell if but this was definitely the gun range. And unfortunately, I didn't take any pictures of me actually shooting the guns. It was just us eating food because we had lunch there. Here, hang on, I'll send it to you right now. So basically, okay, so these two pictures here. So basically, the people you see in these images, that's me and the team at Barking Dog. Yeah. So. So you can show it to your audience there, and
okay.
I can identify them for you.
Yeah, I can just let me just save them, and then I will share them and eventually spread them to the rest of the world.
Yeah, right there, yeah. So there, okay. So in this first image here, that's me over there, second to the left, sitting down. I'm eating some kind of sandwich.
This? Oh yeah, that.
So
that
in the
does
blue,
look like you.
That's me. Right. So that's me. I can't remember the guy on the left. The guy in the middle, he's the programmer. He was a programmer at Barking Dog. And the guy with the sunglasses looking at the camera, he was a mapper. He made CS Back Alley. Yeah. Jamie McTaggart, I think. Jamie McTaggart? Yeah, I think his name is Jamie. It still is Jamie McTaggart. I don't think he changed it. And then the guy on the far right, the guy with the backwards cap, that's Chris Mayer. So he made DE Train. Yeah, the E Train.
Yeah.
And so he was he was a great guy. So he was a mapper as well. Chris Mayer. His name was Dogzilla, his nickname. But yeah. So that's that picture, and
Oh
we were just
yeah,
taking a break from shooting. We were taking a break from shooting there,
Jamie
and we're just having
McTaggart,
lunch.
TYR was his in-game name.
TYR. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and so he was a level designer for us, and yeah.
Yeah, he
I'm not
only
sure where he works now, but I think he still works in the game industry. I think he works like Microsoft or something. But okay, so in this picture, oh, okay, so that guy in the orange jacket, his name is Milo Casali. He was also a level designer, or was he? Yeah, he was a level designer as well. I think he did. Yeah, he did some levels. I think he worked with Jamie to create Back Alley. Interesting fact about him is his brother Dario Casali. He
yeah.
actually works at Valve. Yeah.
I was
So if you,
about to ask,
yeah,
was he related to Dario Casali? Because
he is.
he's actually
That's
very
his
well
brother.
known.
Yeah, that's his brother. That's Dario's brother. And so yeah, so he was a level designer, and yeah, he lives in Canada. I think he still does levels, or I think he still works in the game industry. Yeah, super cool guy. Yeah.
So they're a
Mhm.
family of game designers.
Yeah, yeah. So they're originally from England, and they I think they originally were like making Quake levels or something, and
No,
then basically that's how they started. And yeah,
yeah.
Valve hired Dario,
Yeah,
and
he
yeah.
because Dario actually made finished in public project called Final Doom, the Plutonia experiment, with his brother.
Oh, is that what it?
Yeah,
Oh, with Milo. Oh, okay. Oh,
yeah,
okay. I didn't know that.
and then they
But yeah, he was a great artist, and he was
yeah.
at Half Life. Sorry, he was at Valve for a long time. He was like one of the very earlier employees
Oh yeah,
there,
yeah.
and
He was one of the
I remember
first.
meeting him. Yeah, I think he made levels for Half Life 1 and 2, and yeah, yeah. He was very early employee at Valve, and yeah,
Yeah,
this
he
is
lasted
super
until
cool guy.
2022.
Oh, did
Actually,
he leave? I didn't know. I didn't know he
yeah,
left.
but
Yeah.
apparently he left from 1996 to 2022. He's been there a long
Wow, but
time.
yeah, he was there for a long time. Yeah, yeah, super cool guy, really nice, really talented, super talented. Obviously, yeah, he was a great artist, and yeah, yeah, and so I worked with his brother at Barking Dog for a bit as well. So yeah, it was cool, a lot of fun. Yeah,
Hmm.
unfortunately, I don't have any pictures of me shooting the guns, but we did shoot guns there. I remember we
Yeah,
shot
it's
like
okay.
pistols, like and like shotguns and stuff. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Oh, here it is. Here it is. The
What is
infamous
this?
Funk Vehicle. This is a community-made
Oh,
map.
oh,
This is what I
yeah.
told you about.
I never
Where
played this, but
yeah,
this looks funny. Yeah.
this is what I just told you. Where
Oh, fucking hell. It's like was
communities. Yeah, there were
oh
entire
shit.
communities involving Funk Vehicle
Damn.
entities. So people would just make maps like this, and they would just uh,
Yeah, that
crash
looks like
into each
fun. Yeah.
other. And you see, it's a fork with a meatball, just anything. Because
Yeah, 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 yeah.
since Funk
Yeah,
Vehicle
yeah.
is just a
This looks like some
simple.
Gary. This looks like some Gary's mod or something.
Yeah, yeah. This is Gary's mod
That's
before
crazy.
Gary's mod.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
and
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah,
yeah,
there
there's
was one bug. I remember there was one bug when the vehicles they would just kind of sink into the ground. Like it was random. I don't
oh
know. Some
yeah,
of the vehicles they would just like
yeah.
they would just sink into the ground and then they would just
If they
die.
start going vertically up and down, they would kind of clip into the ground, and then you can clip them into
Yeah, yeah,
each other, and they could
yeah.
like
And sometimes
accidentally.
the gravity it would just keep going into the sky because the gravity wouldn't like take effect.
Yeah,
That was one bug that we had. And
yeah, yeah. See, they would go
yeah,
into each other and then kill the
yeah,
kill
yeah,
the
yeah,
player
yeah,
out
yeah.
of
No.
nowhere.
Exactly, exactly. They were so buggy. So
Yeah, yeah,
eventually, I just kind of gave up because I couldn't figure it out. I just said, "Fuck
yeah,
this." The,
yeah, yeah.
the engine was not meant for like vehicles.
I mean, you can still see that it's pretty hilarious in of itself with all of its bugginess, and people absolutely loved it. There's
Yeah,
thousands of these
yeah,
maps with Funk Vehicle entities all around it.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, it was basically Battlefield before Battlefield was released.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
it just goes to show you don't need physics in your video game to make
yeah,
to be
yeah,
fun. Even though in a way,
yeah,
Gold Source does kind of have physics, I guess, but only for like pushing
yeah. But
objects, very primitive.
it was so primitive. Yeah,
Yeah,
and yeah, it was. I remember it just being really primitive, and
yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
Speaking of mechanics, do you think there could have been a world where CS had more balanced game modes people could enjoy, or do you think consolidating to mainly defuse is still fine with you?
Yeah, I mean, I remember we spent a lot of time trying to make the hostage rescue more balanced and more friendly for professional tournaments.
Yeah.
But we just couldn't get it right. I remember one thing that we experimented was just having like one hostage. So instead of having to rescue like 3 or 4 of them, you just had to like escort one of them to the hostage rescue zone. So we tried doing that, but eventually we couldn't get it to be as balanced. I think just the problem was it's just too much work having to have the CTs go into the rescue zone and then kind of bringing them back. Yeah, it was just we did try, but to be honest, even if you ask me today if there's anything that we could have done to make hostage rescue more balanced, I can't I can't really think of any other ideas. But I don't know.
No,
Yeah,
because if I
maybe
was you
someone
at the
else could.
time, I would have probably thought to myself, I mean, is it really enough for CS to only have like
Oh,
defuse be
bomb
the
defusal.
leading game mode? Are people gonna get tired of the game faster if there's only one thing to do?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the thing is, we still had hostage rescue maps, but we kind of knew that they were more meant for the casual audience.
Yeah.
Because I still even up until like CS Source and CS:GO, there was still a lot of popular hostage rescue maps. Like CS Militia was still popular, Assault was still popular.
No, it
So people
definitely
were
has a
people,
dedicated
yeah,
community.
people were still playing them even in the casual gameplay, like just casual pick 'em up games that you would play with strangers. Sometimes like the hostage rescues were still a lot of fun. But yeah, it was just meant. But these days, I think with CS2, because Counter Strike has become such a popular professional esports game, it just we're seeing mostly just people making bomb diffuser maps. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, we're not seeing any more hostage rescue. So,
I
but
mean,
yeah, I still enjoy them though. I mean personally, I still love playing hostage rescue. So
I would have still been. I would have also been surprised that, despite everything, people have no problem spending thousands of hours playing only diffuse mode. If not only Dust 2, because there are definitely people like that. Because I guess at the end of the
yeah,
day, with CS, it did kind of only come down to the gameplay rather than the maps and the objective. Considering that Dust 2 is
yeah,
still a thing, it's still the
yeah,
most
right,
popular
right.
game ever. But anyway,
Yeah,
uh,
for sure.
was it difficult to work with the community? Because CS is so specific in how it works, and when something changes, people tend to complain a lot. Even
Yeah,
today,
yeah,
even that's true. Even today,
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was always kind of challenging because, like as you said, every time we would introduce a new beta, we would get a lot of criticism. We would always get like feedback saying, "Oh my God, you ruined the game. This is the end of the game. It's never gonna, it's never gonna succeed. It's gonna fail because of these changes you made." So yeah, we kind of we kind of had a hard time just basically kind of filtering out the critical feedback and just kind of listening to the feedback that was really kind of that would objectively make the game better. So that was just one of the challenges of working in an open development cycle. But I think it really benefited though, because by releasing the betas and by getting so much feedback, we were able to see what worked and what didn't work much quicker. Because if we didn't do that, we would have made a lot of mistakes. And that's kind of what happened with tactical intervention. Like we didn't release any betas. We didn't make any. We didn't have any open. We didn't get any like feedback from the public. It was all closed development. And so when we released the game, we didn't know what was going to work and what didn't work. So I guess that's basically what ended up happening. What caused it to fail so badly. So
yeah.
yeah, so even though there was a lot of difficulties of working in such an open community, I think in the end it's what led to the success of Counter Strike.
Yeah.
Um, by having by having all these people give us so much feedback. And
Yeah, I
after a
guess.
while, we started to learn what was the most critical areas, and what was feedback that we couldn't sort of ignore. Because I remember, okay, for example, one time when we nerfed bunny hopping. Bunny hopping is when you jump
Yeah,
a lot. So we nerfed it in one of the betas, and we had a lot of people say, "This is terrible. You got to bring it back, or else this is going to ruin Counter Strike." But we knew that we stuck to our guns and said, "No, no, this is not. We don't want this to be part of Counter Strike. We don't want the game to be like just rapidly jumping, bunny hopping." So that particular feature, we kind of just ignored the community,
yeah.
and we just kind of stuck to it. Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
and eventually they accepted it. Yeah.
Yeah, to this day, there are still, I hear from people saying that, oh no, the old CS with the insane bunny hopping is the best. But I also have
Yeah.
thought to myself that, okay, that's cool and all, but still, at the same time, like, this is CS. If you want fast movement, there's always Unreal Tournament and
Yeah.
Quake. But
Yeah.
especially back
Yeah.
then, I think it's people were simply more accustomed to that kind of style of gameplay. So of course,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
they would like it, and just jumping over. They thought maybe it was so skillful to jump around and still get
Yeah.
insane shots rather than strategically planning
Yeah.
your positioning. Just how CS eventually worked.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. That was one criticism that
yeah,
we just kind of stuck to our guns, and it worked out in the end. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, now on to release CS. The game was successful. Everyone loves it. Cool. You stopped working on it after 1.0. And I remember reading interviews saying you felt burnt out and didn't want to work on it anymore. Was it because it was a lot to take in as your first game, or any concerns with how it will be perceived long term?
No. So after 1.0, I started working on like a prototype that was supposed to be like a sequel to Counter Strike, and everybody at Valve knew that. Like, so basically, this
Yeah.
was kind of like, this was understood. So basically, and everybody was fine with that. They were cool with that. They wanted me to kind of come up with a new Counter Strike, basically. But as the years kind of went on, one of the challenges was I was working on the source engine. So at the time, the source engine wasn't finished. So I was making this prototype on an engine that was constantly breaking, and it was constantly like changing. It was constant, and so it was frustrating. So I would make a prototype, and then a lot of the stuff that I made was breaking. Then I had to fix it. So it was not the best. It was not the best environment for me to make a prototype, because the engine was constantly in change. So it was difficult. And so yeah, after a few years, it just got to the point where I just couldn't really come up with a strong prototype, like a prototype that would really have a strong game idea that was fundamentally an improvement over Counter Strike. So so that's the reason why I just kind of gave up on the prototype. And so I think around like 2004, they basically just asked me, hey, why don't you just do you want to work on another game that, yeah, the Defeat Source. So that was my opportunity to work on a game that was more closer to being finished, I guess you can say, because there was more of a chance that this game would be released. Whereas the prototype that I was working on, it was probably years away from seeing the light of day. So yeah, I wanted to work on a mod that was more I guess more closer to being finished. Yeah. And so and also I was really good friends with the team that worked on Day of Defeat, so I really enjoyed working with them. So I just kind of jumped at it.
Yeah. So speaking of Day of Defeat, outside of tactical first-person shooters and military settings, were you ever into like these war type of games? Because after the year 2000, you also have games like Medal of Honor and over time the first Call of Duties.
Yeah.
Were you into those kind of first-person shooters and Wolfenstein? What was the name? Castle Wolfenstein.
Castle Wolfenstein. I didn't play any of the later Wolfensteins too much, but I did play a lot of the Call of Duty and the Medal of Honors. I liked them a lot because they had really high production values and the campaigns were a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't like a huge World War II fan. Like I wouldn't say that I'm a huge fan of it, to be honest. Like it's not like my
Cup of tea.
dream theme game. Yeah, but I still enjoyed playing Call of Duty and Medal of Honor because they had such high production values and they really kind of like immersed me in the role of being in that kind of World War II setting. And they had really good gunplay as well, like shooting the guns and like killing the enemies. So that's really why I played them.
Well,
But I think, yeah, I still kind of prefer enjoying other games like Ghost Recon and the Rainbow Six series.
yeah,
Yeah.
but Medal of Honor had a lot going for it. I mean, it was kind of one of the co-creators is Steven Spielberg himself, so there was a lot going on with that
Yes,
game
yes, yeah.
franchise in
That
particular.
was a very good game. Yeah, had an awesome campaign. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because there was that whole in the early 2000s trend of making World War
World War II
II
games.
simulators, which
Yep.
which is kind of surprising to me because considering how popular CS was, there wasn't like it didn't spark a trend. That's kind of surprising to me that it didn't
Oh,
spawn a trend or anything
yeah.
because there were labels for the physical copy of CS which were actually true that it was the number one online game, and being so popular to me it's like kind of surprising that, I mean, come on, really, how come it didn't become kind of like a trend? Because arena shooters became a trend, but then CS came, arena shooters died, but at the same time the whole FPS genre moved on to World War II simulators for a couple of years. So, looking back at
Yeah.
it, maybe there's just something about CS that is not replicable so easily.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic. Like, yeah, there wasn't many games that kind of dealt with the theme of counterterrorism.
Yeah,
I mean, we had Rainbow Six,
and SWAT
but
later came
yeah,
out.
and SWAT, yeah, yeah. But yeah, aside from those two, like we didn't see a flood of like games like the way we saw with World War II games. So yeah, that's a good question. I don't know why. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah, well,
yeah.
that just goes to show how special CS was.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
speaking of game features, uh,
So
so,
yeah.
here's one very important thing that I have personally always wondered about, and there's no answer or anything. I think this is one of my personally most important questions. Okay, so you're left-handed, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
I'm left-handed too, and people give me shit
Yeah.
for that, but I don't care.
Hmm.
Despite that, I do want to ask. So the weapons are made left-handed by default. So
Hmm.
the perspective that you see the weapons from is left-handed, right?
Hmm.
Uh, was there ever any consideration that, hey, it's kind of wrong that the weapons look like this from this angle because most people are gonna be playing, like right-handed, and it's gonna look weird to them like this.
Yeah, we got a lot of flack for that. When we first released the first beta, people were complaining. They were like, "What the fuck is this?" Like a lot of people, because the majority of people are right-handed.
Yeah.
But obviously, when I made it, I couldn't. There was no easy way for me to flip them. Like, in fact, I don't think we didn't come up with the option to flip them until like beta 7 or beta 8. So for like up until the beta 6s, people were playing. Everybody was playing left-handed models, and they just got used to it. Even though they were hating me for it, they just we like the game, but what the fuck is this? So yeah, people. Unfortunately, I couldn't really do it because like I this was just the way I created the models, and I was just there was
Yeah.
no easy way for me to flip them.
No,
So,
no.
but
I definitely would have done the
but
same myself.
but in beta 7, one of the guys at Valve, he introduced this. He introduced some code that would just take the models and just flip them. So it was simple. It was a really simple fix, and after that, people were happy. And then after that, I think the default models were right-handed. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, up until beta 7, everybody was playing with left-handed models, and we got a lot of complaints. Yeah, people were just they wanted to like kill me and shit like that. I was getting death threats. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that's what we get for being the minority as
But
left-handed users.
here's the funny thing. for the most, like up in the beta 7, I was so used to playing with left-handed models.
Yeah.
But now when I play games, I'm so used to the right-handed models, and then I can't go back to left-handed models now. It just feels weird. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like,
It sucks that you get
yeah,
forced into right-handed, but in some
yeah,
games
yeah.
it didn't matter. But to me, there's something about CS where it just feels more comfortable when they are on the left-hand side. But when I've played other games, I kind of just get used to it. But with CS, I've also always
Yeah,
tried
it's
to go for
because
a left-hand.
most games they put the view model pretty close to the center, but in Counter
Yeah,
Strike you'll notice the view model is really quite pushed to the side.
yeah.
It's really quite offset. The reason I did that is because I thought the guns looked better that way. I didn't like the way the guns look when you put them close to the center. They lose their shape and they lose their outline.
Oh,
And
that's
so
interesting.
yeah, that's why I didn't. That's why I kind of kept them kind of like to the side, so you can sort of see them better. Yeah.
Yeah, but another thing about the left-handedness is that when you hold a weapon like the AK, you hold it left-handed. It makes sense that the ejection where the bullets come out, it would be on the right side. But when you switch, I suppose this was very difficult to implement to actually flip the weapon itself, so like the bolt would be on the right
Yeah.
side, because you would also have to redo
The animations. Yeah.
the animations. Yeah, because then
Yeah.
for a lot of right-handed people and people who know guns, they would see CS, they would see, of course, by default like this right-handed, and they
Yeah.
would be like, why is the bolt
Yeah,
on the
exactly.
left
Yeah.
side
Yeah.
of the AK?
No, it was.
It would look weird to
No.
them. Yeah, I, even in one of my
Yeah. Yeah.
videos, I told people, like, since they're left-handed by default, this is how the weapon looks correctly. So I'm right and you're wrong. Even though you went to a shooting range to get inspiration and to help with having for sounds and more realism with the weapons, there are still weapons that ended up wrong. So how do you feel about
Yeah.
this M4 having a wrong
Oh, yeah, yeah.
animation?
I did this before I even knew about guns. So this is one of the very first guns that I animated, and this is back when we didn't have YouTube. I didn't
Yeah.
have any videos, so I had to animate it based on what I would read. And so I had no idea what that button was. I thought that was because I saw like some movies about people pulling something, and I thought they were pulling that button. But yeah, I got so much flack for that because that button is actually supposed to be pushed.
Yeah.
And so people were making fun of me so bad. I was like, dude, you're not supposed to pull that button. And like, I was pulling on the wrong thing. So yeah, that was one mistake that I made that people never really.
Yeah.
They always make fun of me for that. But yeah, I kind of think back to that. I was like, oh my god, that was so stupid. I can't believe I did that. It's just because at the time I had no idea what that button was used for.
Yeah, and
I didn't know what it was.
And I suppose afterwards there was just no time to like reanimate the whole thing to be correct.
Yeah, I think after I found out how it fully animated, I was too busy, so I didn't really have the time to go back and fix it.
I suppose at that point people were also kind of used to looking at it like
Yeah,
this.
and I think people kind of got used to it, but
Yeah.
yeah, it does look weird. It does look weird.
Yeah. I know. And another thing people pointed out is that the dust cover is closed by default. It has like a spring that it closes, but typically it stays open. That's another thing.
It's supposed to stay open after you shoot the first bullet. Yeah, but I the reason I kind of did that was because I kind of thought it looked cool seeing the animation kind of flip open up. Yeah. I thought it looked cool, so I just kind of kept it that way.
Oh, also another thing about the M4 is, as we showed earlier, in the beta, why did it have a scope and why did it then get removed?
I think because I don't know why I added the scope. I think I added it because I saw pictures of it, the Navy SEALs version, and like it was like it had so many add-ons. It had like all the silencers and the scope, and I thought it looked cool. And so that's kind of I modeled it based on the version that I saw that the Navy SEALs would use. But then in practice in the game, it was unbalanced. So we quickly realized that. So we quickly removed the scope.
Yeah.
In one of the betas, but yeah,
consolidated rifles with scopes to be specifically the AUG and the Krieg here.
Yeah, because of balancing issues. We wanted to make these guns more expensive and more like
one more that I can kind of think of is that the AWP when you pull it out, you don't cock it, but you're supposed to, just like it does in other CS games? Or did people not really notice this one?
So when you pull the rifle out, I'm not moving the bolt.
Yeah, because in CS:GO and CS2, when you pull it out, you pull the bolt to load the rifle, kind of like you do with almost any other weapon. I guess you cock the MP5, you cock the SG, but
Yeah,
you don't the op.
yeah. Actually, yeah. I'm not sure why I did that.
I'm not a
I think
gun
it was just because
expert. I'm not a gun expert, but
maybe
any game
maybe
I've seen, the
I
AWM.
yeah yeah. Oh yeah. I misnamed that. It was supposed to be called the AWM.
Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
kind of known that it's for copyright purposes. I mean, every weapon has a different name.
No. I mean, it wasn't because of copyright. I just misnamed it because the AWP and the AWM, they were both like well, actually, technically, the AWP is also copyrighted as well. But I mean, they didn't care. Actually, the people that made that gun, they didn't. They never contacted us. They never bothered us. Yeah.
Yeah, because for other weapons, it is told that they are renamed intentionally. They have parody names, like
Like
the Desert Eagle is
the Deagle
Nighthawk.
and the Quake. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a good point. I'm not sure why we didn't change the AWP to something fake. Maybe because I think we thought the AWP was like a copyright-free name, like the MP5. Like the MP5 and the M4, those are like military designations. So that's not they don't fall under copyright. Like those are basically just military designations. And I thought the AWP was also under the same military designation, but it's not. It's that was probably a mistake on my part. I probably should have called it AWP something different.
Okay, well, this might be a first because this hasn't been heard before. Also, all the other weapons, instead of P250.
Oh, we called it a Nighthawk?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was called the Deagle.
Everybody calls it the Deagle, the Desert Eagle, but in game it's officially known as the Nighthawk.
Oh right, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Because I came up with these fake names, right? Because I didn't want it to be called. I didn't want it to be associated with Desert Eagle, obviously, because I knew Desert Eagle was copyrighted. So I came up with Nighthawk, but then everybody knew it was a Deagle, so they just called it the Deagle.
Yeah, I mean,
But
Nighthawk is vaguely similar. It's still like based on a bird, eagle, hawk. So it's clever in a way.
yeah,
Yeah, and also
okay.
Leon,
I remember. Yeah, we came up with these fake names. Yeah.
yeah, Inagram, Mac 10, KB submachine gun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
people did not know them for and also, interestingly, for some of these names, they became so ingrained that people call them, like the Krieg. Like it's not actually called the Krieg, I think, but everybody knows it as the Krieg, for example.
Yeah, that was a name that I made up because it sounded very German.
Yeah. I know the real name is just SG 552 or SG 553 in CS:GO and CS2,
Yeah.
but everybody just calls it Krieg. And the Scout is also like, I don't think Scout is in the real name of the sniper rifle, but everybody calls it the Scout.
That's really called a Scout. It's called a Steyr Scout.
Oh yeah,
So it's made by
called the Steyr
Steyr.
Scout. Yeah.
Yeah, it's called a Steyr Scout, and yeah, that was it was kind of an interesting looking sniper rifle. That's why I picked that one.
Yeah. Can you recall if these stats of the weapons are accurate and real?
Yeah. So basically, those are numbers that I basically grabbed them off a website. So they should be pretty accurate. I didn't make those numbers up. Definitely. Yeah.
Wait. Speaking of equipment, was the night vision supposed to have any practical use? Because it's obviously an item that nobody ever used for any reason. Or is it something that at that time, CRT monitors couldn't have the brightness that monitors have today, so certain areas would actually be dark? Or was there something planned for like dark maps?
No, yeah, we did, because at the time when I came up with the night vision, we had a lot of dark maps, like CS Docs, DE Prodigy.
Yeah.
We had maps that were much darker. But then, I think around like 1.0 or 1.2, I think Valve decided, okay, no more dark maps. Every map has to be bright. It's just because of gameplay reasons, because people didn't like squinting and shit like that, right? So we just felt like, so after that, the night vision goggles became kind of useless, and I don't think we saw them anymore. Like I don't think they saw them in like 1.6. or did they? I don't know. I can't remember
I
because
mean,
I remember we removed them after
um,
we banned all night dark maps.
no, for some reason they still remained in the game. Like I am playing right now CS
Oh,
1.6 and it's here. I can buy it.
oh, but CS Source, did they remove it?
Yes, in CS Source
Yeah,
it wasn't there.
yeah, because
Also the Riot Shield wasn't there, but I think the Riot Shield was sort of a Valve decision to implement because it came with 1.6. Here it
yeah,
is, and it was, and nobody likes it because the night vision
yeah,
is purely useless, but the tactical shield was so overpowered that every server
yeah.
would
It
ban
was,
it.
yeah, I know. It was pretty OP.
But yeah,
Mm.
I guess the cameras were an interesting gimmick for
Yeah,
maps that unfortunately didn't pan out because
yeah,
people didn't find it useful enough, I guess.
yeah. I mean, it was kind of a gimmick. I think only a few maps had this. Like I think CS Siege had it, and this one as
Yeah,
well.
militia had it too.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. Militia had it. Yeah.
Let me actually, because
But yeah, it was kind of a yeah, it was kind of a gimmick. It was not my idea. It was the mapper's idea. They just kind of put it in there.
yeah, yeah. Because you can still see players, and it kind of works as a tactical thing. Because I can, like, right now, I can see the
Oh
players
yeah,
inside the
mm,
hangar and kind of
yeah, yeah.
give information, but everyone else being at a disadvantage while one person sits behind and gives info doesn't really work for a game like CS. So I guess ultimately
Mhm.
it just didn't fit. So
Yeah.
speaking of gimmicks,
Mm.
since you've said before that you've played CS for quite a while, even after it released, were you ever aware of all of the popular or eventually popular community game modes that the community created
Oh,
and
like
hosted tons of
the surf
servers on?
maps,
Yeah, like
the surf map.
Surf, Creeds, Zombie Mode, Death Run, and anything in between.
No, actually, so I stopped playing after like 1.0, probably like yeah, probably like 1.0. So yeah, after that, I wasn't really aware of a lot of these mods that got released. So
Mm-hmm.
gun game and all those ones. I didn't get a chance to play those ones. Yeah, no.
Because that's an interesting aspect of CS where because it's so versatile and moddable, being a mod in of itself, people eventually started creating. There's like different forums like allied modders that create mods for the game, and like I just said, so some became so popular that eventually players started hosting their own servers on these mods, and it got to a point
Yeah.
where some were so popular that there would be people playing exclusively one single mode. Like I can show you real quick. This one is one that people are very and extremely fond of. It's called Zombie Mode. It's kind of like it's based on Resident Evil, where like well, one person gets infected and then everybody has to kill him, or he spreads the infection, and this kind of stuff. And there's like thousands of maps for this, and people have a lot of nostalgia for zombie mode and
Uh,
many other game modes. Yeah, I can see this is like the Half-Life 2
yeah,
zombie
that's the Half
model.
Life.
Yeah, and other ones. Yeah, I can see there's
Oh,
different models
cool.
and just people hiding overall playing as a team. Like the zombies have like thousands of HP. Like there's a lot of crazy stuff people have made over the years, and
Oh,
all of
okay.
these niche dedicated communities for, I would say, subgenres of
Yeah.
CS. And
It's like Gary's mod. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But so on a related note, do you think more games should embrace user-generated content? Because CS is a consequence of that and all the things the
Yeah,
community
yeah.
made.
Yeah. I personally feel they should. I mean, that's how I found my way into the industry. But there's a reason that the AAA studios like EA, Activision, it's a reason they don't embrace user generated content. It's because it kind of it prevents them from making DLCs, and also kind of like microtransactions and those kind of things.
Hmm.
They it kind of conflicts with their ability to make that, because they can't sell that stuff if people are making them and giving them away for free. So that's the reason they don't like. That's the reason you don't see an SDK for Call of Duty Warzone or something like
Yeah.
that. It's because these AAA publishers, they obviously know it kind of eats into their bottom line.
Yeah. No, but I've thought about it because at the same time, every game that has user generated content or allows people to mod it, that kind of makes the games a little bit more long lasting and immortal, because then there's also these modding communities that form around these games. And of course, Half-Life is the more popular example because people still use the Hammer editor, and they still tinker with the Cold Source engine, even though it's been like almost 30 years since the original Half-Life left released.
Yeah, but unfortunately, that's not the priority for these like EA and
Yeah.
Microsoft and those kind of guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
their priority is like they wanna sell a new game every year. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so
Now, speaking of,
that's kind of my thing.
what did you think of Steam back then as a concept? Because 2003, when it came out, you were still working at Valve. It would.
Yeah.
What did you think of the idea of
Oh yeah.
selling games virtually instead of
Oh
buying a
yeah.
disc and
Yeah. So,
installing it locally?
yeah, that was a very interesting time because actually, if I remember correctly, a lot of the people at Valve they kind of they didn't really have a lot of high hopes for Steam succeeding. They thought it was gonna be kind of like a niche thing, like because at the time everybody went to EB games, and they always just
Hmm.
bought the games physically. So the digital marketplace was still very very early, and I guess a lot of people that or just a lot of my coworkers at Valve, I remember talking to them, and they were kind of like, yeah, maybe it'll take off, you know, so yeah, none of us really had the uh like the optimism that I guess, because like it was mostly Gabe Newell that was really pushing it, I guess. He
Hmm.
was kind of like the he was like basically the driving force for Steam. And
Oh,
one interesting thing that people don't, and a lot of people don't realize this, but at one point when Steam was being developed, they actually wanted to make it a peer-to-peer system.
hmm.
uh so basically kind of like BitTorrent. So basically
Yeah.
you would send you would transfer their data peer to peer,
Yeah.
unlike the way it is now, where it's kind of like Steam is basically has their
Yeah. Everyone connects to the
server, and
central Steam server.
yeah, yeah. So I think what they wanted to do is they wanted to kind of like reduce the operating costs, because it's very expensive to have all these servers, and you have to like transfer to all of these users. Like running Steam is quite expensive, because of all of these having so many different servers and all of that. So Valve, they actually looked into trying to make it like a peer-to-peer system,
Hmm.
like BitTorrent. And so they spent several months, several even almost years, like trying to make this work. In fact, I remember they hired the inventor, the guy who invented BitTorrent, or torrents, basically. The
Hmm.
whole they basically hired this guy, and they tried to have him to basically implement a torrent system for Steam. But yeah, it never really panned out. I'm not sure why. I think probably because of privacy concerns. Because peer-to-peer sharing, file sharing, a lot can go wrong in that. You can have a lot of data breaches, and like just like people's. It's hard to control
Yeah. More of a
the.
security risk than anything.
Yeah, it's more of a security risk than the way the traditional model of just downloading from a server. So yeah, that was just one interesting thing. I mean, so yeah, Steam. Um, yeah, Steam was in development. I remember the very first years of Steam. It was very buggy, and
Yeah.
when Steam was first released, it got a lot of like criticism,
Oh
because it
yeah.
was had tons of bugs,
Well,
had
people
a lot
hated
of
it. People
yeah,
hated
yeah.
it
People
because
hated it.
because Valve released Half-Life exclusively for Steam. Like you can still buy the disc, but you have to install
Uh,
Steam to play it.
yeah,
That was also
yeah.
another thing.
So yeah, I remember the first few years was very challenging, and it was very um they got a lot of criticism. Yeah. um so it's kind of like when you look at the Epic Game Store, like when they released it. I mean, they get a lot of criticism as well, because they're missing a lot of features.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah.
So
At this
people kind of
point,
criticism.
yeah, at this point, they got
So
criticism for
people kind
not
of
doing Steam.
expect, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, they expect it to be as good as Steam. So
yeah.
so yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of the same way. When you first release this system, eventually it takes a few years before it becomes mature.
Hmm.
So yeah, so that's what I'm hoping will happen with like the Epic game system. They'll start to add more features, because I think one of the biggest complaints people have with the Epic game system is it's lacking a lot of the features that people are so used to with Steam,
Yeah.
like the friend
There's
system and
no
all that.
community aspects, like there's no community hub and
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
user
Yeah. But
reviews.
that took several years before Steam introduced those things. So I think if you give Epic a few more years, they'll start to implement those features as well.
I mean,
So
depends on them if they listen to the community, because if they don't kind of give the people what they want, because that's the other thing about Steam, because Steam has takes a higher percentage from game sales than Epic
um,
Game Store,
yeah,
but at
yeah,
the same time,
yeah,
Steam works as opposed to any other store, and that's kind of like their edge.
yeah,
And they also have
yeah,
all the community aspects that a lot of people are missing from Epic. So if they're willing to
yeah.
listen,
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
I guess it's something that's beyond my understanding. So I don't really fully
yeah.
know whether or not Epic Games will get to that point. But
Yeah,
you know,
because initially when they launched the Epic Store, they were like, "Hey, we're like Steam, but we take less of a percentage. So please put your game on the Epic Store." But then people were like, "Yeah, but the lack of exposure, the lack of direct
yeah,
communication with the players is kind of lacking." So not enough people
yeah,
jumped on the bandwagon. Also, a lot of people
oh,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
distrusted Epic because they sort of did this thing where they bought the rights to sell a game exclusively on their platform for
yeah,
a
yeah,
certain
yeah,
period,
yeah,
and people didn't
yeah.
like
I know
that.
platform exclusivity.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I mean, to be honest, I kind of understand what they're trying to do, and I don't. People may disagree with it, but to me, it makes sense from a business standpoint, because people aren't gonna install Epic Games unless they get these free games. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
they do give away a lot of games, but there's the also other side of with like Epic and Steam, how like, oh, but Steam is a monopoly and it needs competition, but then people want everything to be in one place, so there's a whole conundrum related to that.
hmm
Anyway, what do you think of CS Condition Zero? It started development right as you
um,
left
yeah,
the CS, but you were still working at Valve. Yeah, did you have like no
yeah,
hand in that
yeah.
at all?
Yeah, no, I didn't really have much involvement at all. It was basically a project that was pretty much handed off to these third-party developers like Gearbox.
Ritual
Um,
Entertainment.
yeah, Ritual. They made Sin. Yeah, so it kind of fell into the hands of like three or four different developers until eventually Turtle Walk uh, came up with a pretty good um, uh, game concept for it. So
Hmm.
yeah, so I mean, yeah. To be honest, I thought it was kind of like it kind of lacked some direction in like I think we weren't really sure what Condition Zero was supposed to be. So,
Hmm.
um,
But in
but
general, what do you think about the concept of CS having a single player campaign? Because
oh, I thought it was cool. I mean, I thought it was. I actually I was really excited to see it finished, and I wanted to see what the finished product was good, because I thought it would be kind of like Rainbow Six, right? Kind of like
yeah,
counter terrorists, but with a single player campaign. So I was kind of looking forward to that, to be honest. But I think some of the higher ups at Valve, they weren't really happy with some of the versions that were being submitted to them.
yeah. Unfortunately, the way it ended up was kind of because. I mean, there's a lot that we don't know internally what exactly happened, but the first studio, Ritual Entertainment, that started working on it, things didn't pan out. But then but then Rogue Entertainment, they kind of released a product. No, I think it was maybe the opposite. It started with Rogue Entertainment, then Ritual, but then Ritual like released review copies, and it wasn't very well received. It didn't turn out very
Yeah.
well, and then it got changed into another studio. But eventually, the end product of CS Condition Zero is by Turtle Rock, but Valve also released
Yeah.
the other one with the campaign that became deleted scenes. And yeah,
Right. Yeah. So the deleted scenes was basically
yeah,
the stuff that like Gearbox worked on. Yeah.
yeah. Because I've talked about this with with other people in over time. Because it's not a bad idea to take a multiplayer game and turn it into into some form of a single player experience. Even with CS, it can work. It's just kind of unfortunate that with Condition Zero, it didn't work out, and the project got dragged out so much that eventually it came out too late in 2004, right when the Source engine also came out.
Yeah, yeah. It was kind of a weird project, to be honest. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think it was. Yeah.
Yeah, but at the time
Yeah, I
you were
think.
like very hands off, and you didn't even know what
Yeah,
was
no,
going
I
on with
wasn't.
it.
I wasn't. I was not involved within it at all. So I didn't really have any input on any of it. Like, yeah, at all. Yeah.
Have you ever tried it, played it, or anything?
Oh yeah, I mean, I obviously, I played it when it came out, and um, like the version that the Turtle Rock made, it had really good AI. So I think that was what really impressed me the most was
Oh yeah.
like the bots in it were so they were very intelligent and it felt very.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Eventually, that's what kind of led to them making Left 4 Dead. So Turtle Rock kind of used that as a basis for making Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, and also the official bots in CS 1.6 are the ones made by Turtle
Yeah,
Rock.
yeah,
That they
yeah.
did implement. Interestingly, in CC they also have this AI, this cool AI with the hostages where they like start escaping by themselves. It's very interesting.
Right. If the terrorists they move away from them, they would start to try to run off themselves.
Yeah,
I thought that was kind of a cool concept. I thought that was kind of interesting, but yeah, unfortunately,
yeah.
it was hard to make
But
that balance. Yeah.
it kind of just meddled with the entire idea of hostage mode.
Yeah.
But we can get into the community questions now, because I did promise everybody a segment on that. So anyway,
Okay.
so we can kind of do this as a lightning round. You can choose like short
Yeah.
answers
Yeah.
if you prefer, because a lot of these questions are. So some of them are standard questions. So first question is, they're all anonymous, by the way, guys. So there's no user attached to it. So why did you quit Valve? Is the first question ever posted.
So basically, I quit after I finished working on Day of Defeat, and then basically Valve offered me to work on Counter-Strike Source, and I didn't really want to work on Counter-Strike Source because I knew that it was kind of like it was basically the same as CS 1.6, but it was just kind of like updated graphics. So that didn't really interest me, and I wanted to work on a new game that kind of had more features that I couldn't implement in Counter-Strike. And also, I didn't really want to work on a game that was kind of tied to the Counter-Strike franchise because I knew that Counter-Strike was kind of already completely kind of established, and the player base they didn't really want me to change anything too drastic. So yeah, that's why I left Valve. Yeah, I just basically kind of just wanted to work on something that was kind of not tied down to Counter-Strike.
Yeah. Next question is, do you play CS 1.6 nowadays?
No, not 1.6, but I mean, I did play CS2 a few weeks ago. I'm pretty impressed with what they were able to do with CS2. Yeah, just the graphics, like obviously are much better, and they managed to kind of keep the gameplay kind of like fundamentally the same. So I was able to kind of just pick it up and just be able to play it because it felt pretty similar to like Counter-Strike Source. Yeah. So yeah.
Next question is, what was your favorite CS game?
Like game mode.
I mean, no, I guess game for like 1.6 Source.
Like 1.6 CS Source.
Zero. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I mean, obviously, I mean, I like Beta 7 to be honest. Yeah, that was because that was the last one I worked on. Yeah, I mean, I'm probably biased, but I kind of just enjoyed the Beta 7.
No, it makes sense because you were involved with that. So yeah.
Yeah, it was the one that I was involved with. Yeah.
Next question is, what project are you currently working on?
Oh, so yeah, I'm working on this co-op shooter game. So I joined this team. These guys, these developers, they a lot of them they used to work on like Rainbow Six, Ghost Recon, and Division. And some of them worked on Call of Duty. And so they basically made this co-op shooting game. It's kind of like Payday, but you play as the good guys. You play as the police, and you also get to play as counter-terrorists as well. So it's, to be honest, it's kind of like a mix of Payday mixed with Counter-Strike. So it's like 4 players. It's PvE, so you play against the enemy. It's not a PvP game. It's not like Counter-Strike. It's basically like Payday, or like games like Left 4 Dead, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's kind of it takes place in like this open world uh, area, and you kind of go in it. You go to different areas of the level, and you kind of complete missions. So in that sense, it's kind of different than Payday, because Payday, the missions are kind of like smaller and kind of like
Yeah.
self-contained. But this one, it kind of feels like GTA, where like in GTA, it's kind of like this larger. You're like in a large open city, and then you kind of go to different areas of the city to kind of do missions. And so yeah, that's yeah, I'm pretty excited working on it, and we're gonna be releasing some videos of it pretty soon. And
Great.
yeah,
Looking forward. I'll make sure to notify everybody.
yeah,
Next
yeah. I'll let you.
question is what is your favorite player model from 1.6?
Oh, player model. Oh, okay. I like the French GIGN. I've always liked the GIGN. I don't know. They're just like they're the unit that kind of like really kind of started my interest in counterterrorism. So yeah, I would probably pick that one as my favorite. So my favorite gun, I would say, is the MP5, or the SG 552 Commando. Yeah, I really love that gun. The Krieg 552.
Oh yeah, that's a fun weapon.
Excuse me.
No, it's okay.
Yeah,
I just
it
liked how
looks
it packs
cool. I
packs a
just like
punch
how it
as a
looks.
kid.
Yeah, I just like the look of it. But yeah, kind of like the short barreled, and looks pretty mean. Yeah.
What was the challenging thing about creating CS?
I guess the most challenging part was, well, I think definitely trying to make the vehicles, but I kind of gave up on that. So I guess that's probably why it was too challenging for me. But yeah,
Speaking
that
of
was.
vehicles, people voted for this one again.
Oh, okay, yeah, but yeah, I would say it was definitely just trying to implement vehicles. Um, but everything else was pretty straightforward, like the weapon recoil, the money system. That was pretty easy to implement. Yeah.
Map you wish were more popular, still relevant today.
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, like, I think Siege probably. I really enjoyed Siege playing, and yeah, I do wish people would kind of play it more these days. It was a good map. It had a good layout, really good firefights. Yeah, Siege was probably up there. Militia also was pretty one of my one of my favorite ones. But yeah, I would say that one, Siege and Militia.
All right. So, guys, I'm skipping over certain questions because they are just kind of nonsensical or they relate to something we've already talked about. And so, in order to save time, sorry, I'm not reading your question. Don't be angry at me. Anyway, what programming language did you use to make the mod, the CS mod, I suppose?
Oh, so Counter-Strike was written in C++. Yeah. So yeah, the Half-Life engine, they use C++. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Oh, this is a good one. Have you ever thought of establishing your own game studio?
Yeah. I mean, I thought about it, but I think one of the things that I'm not really good at is like the business side of things. Like I'm not good at like managing companies, like getting investment, like dealing with investors, and that kind of stuff. Like
You're
yeah,
not the CEO
that's
type.
yeah, I'm not the CEO type, but yeah, I do wish I had like that. I do wish that I did try to make my own company, because then I would be able to kind of make games a bit better, and um, I would be able to kind of pursue my own dream game a bit better. Because when I made Tactical Intervention, it was made with a company that really didn't have any experience making games, and it was kind of it was a very difficult experience, and I do regret. not
Yeah.
not working with a better company.
Yeah. You're a simple man. You just want to make video games. That's all. Don't want to be bothered with
Yeah,
business.
yeah, exactly. It's a lot of work managing a company, definitely, because I've seen it from that aspect. I've kind of seen what is required to actually start a company,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's not my cup of tea.
Yeah. And I guess at some point, if you're a CEO, you would have to like forfeit working on games to lead the company, and that's not something that's for you.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I've worked at Face Punch Studios where Gary Newman, who is the CEO, he was actually very involved in the development of games. So I mean, it is possible to have a game company and still be involved in the actual development of the games. But I think obviously he had to hire like an office manager and kind of
Mhm.
hire someone that would deal with some of the bullshit that he didn't really want to deal with. So yeah, but
Yeah, of
yeah.
course. Are you happy with the current state of Counter Strike these days?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, like even though I tried to make tactical intervention and I had all these crazy ideas, I'm kind of glad that Valve are still kind of maintaining Counter Strike and kind of like maintaining the legacy of it, um, and basically just kind of updating the game so it's kind of it doesn't look like shit,
Mm-hmm.
but still kind of keeping the same core the gameplay of Counter Strike. They're not really like changing it too much. They're kind of like sticking to the true fundamentals of what makes Counter Strike so enjoyable. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's still so popular today. Like by having the game kind of remain so unchanged over these past 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
you're able to have all of these professional esports teams. Like you're able to have these people train and spend like years of their life training on a game because they know that in 2 or 3 years they're still going to be able to use the skills that they've kind of trained on, and it still kind of applies to the same game. Like whereas
Mm-hmm.
like games like Call of Duty, I like if you practice Call of Duty this year, next year it's going to be completely different. So it's
Yeah, yeah,
I don't see how the esports scene can kind of grow for those types of games.
yeah.
But
Because
yeah, I'm really happy with what Valve does. Yeah.
with Call of Duty, they rotate studios, so they're made like by
Yeah.
different people, same IP, but
Yeah, yeah.
different people.
But and unbelievably, there's an esports Call of Duty. Apparently, people play Call of Duty in esports. I don't know how that works. I mean, what are they playing? Deathmatch or are they?
I
Uh,
think they're playing
uh,
Search and Destroy, where it's like,
are they? Oh,
yeah,
search and destroy.
I think they still play it kind of like CS, where it's 5v5 and you die and
Okay.
you don't instantly respawn, and there's
Yeah,
some
yeah. Okay.
there may be an objective to the map, or maybe it's just last
Yeah.
man standing. I don't know which one
Okay.
exactly it is.
Oh,
Uh,
interesting.
but yeah, it
Yeah.
does it does still have its dedicated fan base because of the mechanics of how it works. It's just kind of like CS. There's a
Yeah.
skill ceiling and people enjoy that, so they want to play it professionally. Anyway,
Interesting. Mhm.
what is? Oh wait, what is the insane wallbang feature? Yeah, we talked about the wallbangs. Oh, here's one. Can you still speak Vietnamese? Chúc mừng năm mới Gooseman, my legend.
I I could never speak Vietnamese. I can only understand like probably like 30, maybe 40%, maybe 30% of it. Because I grew up in Canada. I kind of came to Canada when I was 2 years old,
Yeah.
and my parents they kind of they strongly encouraged me to learn English
Mm-hmm.
because they wanted me to be successful in Canada. So they didn't really speak to me in Vietnamese as I was growing up, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to learn the language. But I could still understand some of it because I can hear my parents kind of speaking, and so I can probably understand probably like maybe 20 to 30% of it. But yeah, I can't speak any of it.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever
Yeah,
been to Vietnam, by the
yeah,
way?
yeah. Actually, I've been there twice now. Just recently, I went there 2 years ago. I really like going back
Mm-hmm.
because I still have a lot of family back there, and yeah, it's starting to develop as a country. They're starting to become more, more developed, and like for example, we're starting to see some game companies coming
Oh
out of
yeah.
Vietnam,
Yeah.
So that's really exciting. It's really cool to see, and yeah, I love going back to Vietnam whenever I have some time to just getting back to my roots and just visiting some family that I still have back there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How did you, wait? If you want to make a game today, how will you start?
Yeah, that's a good question. The game industry today is way different than what it was 20 years ago. It's just so much more competitive. I mean, you have people making great games, and the market is really saturated with a lot of great games.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's also saturated with a lot of shitty games where people are just trying to make a quick buck.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate because it makes it really hard for the good games to get noticed because they have
Yeah.
to fight for attention, and in a sea of all this crappy quick games that are not really
Cash grabs.
worthy. Yeah, cash grabs. Yeah, it's really difficult to get some attention and to kind of get your game out there. So
Yeah.
it's really difficult, and I feel really lucky to be to get into the game industry when it was kind of in its early stages, because nowadays honestly I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure how I would like if I were to redo Counter Strike today. Yeah, honestly, I don't know. I can't really think about it. I'm not even sure if I would have
Yeah.
succeeded. All I know is it would have been much more difficult because
Yeah. Yeah.
just it would just be so
I mean,
competitive. Yeah.
that's just kind of the consequences of having such a free market with like games being
Yeah.
easier to make than
Yeah.
ever, but at the same
Yeah.
time, then you have people trying to game the system.
Yep.
So
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Uh,
yeah, it's tough. It's really tough. But but I think if people have a really strong vision for a game idea, I think I think there's still the opportunity to make like successful games if you have something that's really innovative and
mhm.
that kind of offers something different that isn't like for
Yeah.
example games like PUBG, that
Yeah.
kind of came out of nowhere,
No, no, I
and
do
like games
believe
games
if
like Daisy, these
yeah.
these new kind of game ideas, they kind of come from the modding community. People just making
Yeah, yeah.
mods.
No, I
Yeah.
think it's still possible because if a game truly offers something interesting, people will notice.
Hmm. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
marketing is important to a degree to manage to
Yeah.
stand out.
Yeah. Exactly. Because back then, 20 years ago, marketing was something that I didn't really spend too much time on. It just happened organically. It was very organic. But these days, yeah, you have to really spend the money on marketing. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Besides CS, what other community-made Half-Life mods did you really like? Have you ever engaged with Half-Life mods?
Um, honestly, I didn't have the time to because I was spending so much time.
Hmm.
Like I was working on Counter Strike, and I was in school, so I didn't really have too much time to actually play other mods. But I was aware of other mods. Like there was the firearms mod.
Yeah,
They were kind of like our competitors. Uh, but yeah. Oh, and also, um, there was a mod called like the Specialists. This one
yeah,
became kind of popular later on. After like I think this one became popular in like 2003
yeah. It came out
or
in
4.
2005, actually 2006.
Right.
The specialists.
Yeah. So this was a really cool mod because it was basically Action Quake 2, but in the Half-Life engine,
Yeah,
and you can do like really cool stunts in it. Yeah, it was like the Matrix basically.
yeah. I think it also had a source version called Double Action Boogaloo.
Yes,
It's
yes, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I think it's made by
yeah.
the same people and the same idea. So
Yes, yes, yeah. I'm friends with the guy that made it.
oh.
His name is Jorge Rodriguez. Yeah, he made Double Action Boogaloo and yeah, the Specialist. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, here's an interesting question. CS2 sucks. Would it be better if you still developed the game instead of Valve? I think that's a very difficult to answer.
Um, yeah, I mean, people. I hear people say it sucks, but yeah, I don't know. I think Valve. I've always had faith in them to kind of iron out any of the issues that they had. Because I remember when CS:GO was released,
Mm,
it
it
had a
was
lot
hated.
had a lot of people kind of hating it.
Yeah.
But eventually, near the end of its lifespan, people love CS:GO. It was, So yeah, I mean, I would give it some time. Valve are gonna fix whatever needs fixing.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of goes back to our whole, like, the hatred for different CS versions is kind of generational. Like, even in
Yeah.
the beta days, people hated changes, and
Yeah. People
kind of
would always
normal.
say the previous beta was better. Yeah, it
Yeah,
happens. But
yeah. Um, let's see here. I'm reading through some questions, and I'm just seeing like repeats of topics we've already talked about. So I'm just like reading up
sure,
to
yeah.
skip. Sorry, guys. Wait, did you specifically choose the Badlands Bowie for the one? No, you didn't work on 1.6, so that wasn't your choice. What was your most anticipating part of working with the on the original Counter Strike for you?
So what was the best? What was the best part? Like
Yeah, I
the
guess
most.
the best part of working on CS.
I think the probably the best part was whenever we released new betas, we would always review all of the maps. So the best part was basically getting to kind of play test all of the levels that the community would submit to us, and then we would kind of like pick and choose which ones were the best. That was always the most exciting time for me because I remember like we would play like probably like maybe 20 maps before we would decide on picking, because we had to pick like only 5 or 6 of them. So we had to play like 20 or 30 maps before we can decide, and it was a tough decision because sometimes I would agree I like this map, but then Cliffy kind of would like another map. So sometimes we would disagree on which maps to include for sure. But yeah, those are the best times because getting to play the new maps was always a lot of fun. Yeah. So,
What are some iconic guns that were also considered to be featured but scrapped last minute?
I don't think there was any. Like every time I wanted to add a gun, I just added it. Like I never really, because I was the one that made the final decision.
Yeah.
It was every gun that I added was always because I just wanted to gun. Like for example, the M249 Para. I added that one because I saw it in a movie. Like I saw it in a movie that I watched, and I said, "Oh, that gun looks so cool," and so I added that one. Um, I think if you ask me what gun do I regret adding, I would say I think this the CZ, the pistol, the CZ pistol. Or sorry, no, the 570. Uh,
The
uh,
5.7.
yeah. The FN 57. So it fired like that small little 57 bullet. Yeah, I thought that one was kind of like. I probably if I had to pick, that was probably my least favorite gun. Yeah, the 57. Yeah. And the UMP, like the UMP 45, I thought that gun was kind of, see when I added those guns, we were getting to a point where I had to like find these new guns to add, but I didn't really have I didn't really have any strong opinions on guns to add. So I kind of just like randomly picked some random guns that were kind of new, but that haven't been in other games. So I picked like the UMP 45 and like the 57, and they weren't, to be honest, they weren't really my favorite looking guns, but I just added them because we wanted to add some new guns to the CS arsenal. And I think eventually they weren't really that popular. Like people didn't really use the UMP 45 that
Yeah,
much, I don't
people
think.
just ended up using the most viable ones, I guess.
Yeah, like the MP5 was always kind of like the best SMG for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What is your opinion on CS Source? Did it hit the classic but modernized mark?
Mm, yeah, I mean, like at the time, like I didn't play it myself, but I remember just listening to the community feedback. Like every version that gets released, when CS Source was released, people hated it
Yeah,
because
of
they
course.
hated the movement. Because
Yeah.
the movement of the Source engine, they felt that it was really different than the Half-Life engine. So they
Yeah.
felt that the movement felt too like slippery, like too much like Super Mario Brothers. So Valve had a hard time kind of like trying to fine tune the player movement in CS Source, because they wanted it to feel like CS 1.6. So I remember they spent several, but eventually CS Source turned out to be pretty good. I mean, I think all of the Counter Strikes, after like several patches, Valve they figured out
Yeah. Yeah.
they
Well,
figured out how to make them
well,
better.
I personally have a bit of a weird opinion, and people give me flack for it sometimes, because I've always thought that CS Source is a little bit underwhelming because it's just an HD remake of CS of the original CS. I always thought that there could have been
Yeah,
more done with the Source engine, because it's the friggin' Source
yeah,
engine. Maybe could have advanced
yeah.
the franchise, but it's been years. It is what it is.
Yeah, that's a good point. They didn't really change much fundamentally. Like the gameplay was pretty much identical. But I think they did that on purpose because they wanted people on 1.6 to kind of just jump over the CS source.
Yeah, I mean,
So
that's
they
the
didn't
safe
want
bet.
to. Yeah,
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 that was the safe bet answer.
yeah.
So, do you like the way that CS is looking nowadays? If not, what would you change? Love from Bosnia. I guess this is more so like art style wise.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I like I mean I think CS2 looks great. I think Valve are doing a good job of kind of not changing it too much. Um, but I do think that the like I think if I had to if I were to change one thing, I would probably want to make the graphics look more kind of closer to like something that like the latest Call of Duty. Like I
Hmm.
kind of prefer graphics that kind of look more realistic and more like when you like they look more realistic.
Mm,
Whereas the new CS2, it has a little bit of a stylistic look to it. It's not
yeah,
like it's not like super 100% realistic. It's a little bit stylized slightly, but
a smidge
I think
cartoony.
yeah, it's almost kind of like there's like a little bit of TF2 in there, like a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. Uh,
No.
but I think that's just that's kind of Valve style, and
Yeah.
but
Well.
I mean it's just everybody has a personal taste. But me
Yeah.
personally, I kind of like like Call of Duty Modern Warfare, like the latest one kind of
Gritty,
thing.
like more realistic and gritty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
more realistic and
Yeah,
gritty. Yeah.
but that's kind of like, yeah, the thing about the CS2's art style being more colorful and cartoony. I
Stylized.
think that's just a yeah, and stylized. I think that's just more of a consequence of it being competitive, because when it's cartoony, it runs better, and
Um,
it colors and everything are more
yeah,
distinct.
more. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I think they
Yeah.
did that because they wanted the character models to kind of like stand out from the environment better.
Yeah,
So
because if you look at
yeah, that makes sense.
early CS:GO, it has like these very muted colors, because that was also the trend at the time, with every military game being gray or
Um,
and brown. But then it moved away from that, because the visibility wise, it's not very good. I guess
yeah,
you
that's
know.
a good point. Yeah.
To me, it's slightly reminiscent of CS 1.6 here, because also you can see here, because it's due to the limitations of
Yeah.
its time, but you can see the colors are
Yeah.
also very
The
very
lighting
distinct. So
that
yeah,
pops out. Yeah.
yeah, that's one thing that helped CS 1.6, and I think
Yeah.
they took from
Yeah.
it. But yeah, anyway, yeah, but also if you look at any other competitive first person shooter like Rainbow Six Siege or Valorant, they're also like colorful and stylized. They're all working the same
Um.
way.
Yeah. I guess Rainbow Six Siege. I played a bit of Rainbow Six Siege.
Oh.
It was pretty enjoyable. I think the one thing I didn't like about Rainbow Six Siege is sometimes like I would get like a lucky headshot from like across the map with a pistol.
Mm-hmm.
I hated that. Like I would like shoot some guy like maybe like 500 feet away with a pistol. I would like one shot him, and I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
like it was just random. So I hated that. I felt that there was too much. Sometimes it had to like there was too many times where I would get killed by a lucky headshot. Uh, to me, I felt that was a bit too random. I didn't like that part about it. But
Mm-hmm.
other than that, I thought it was a pretty good game. Rainbow Six Siege was all right. I
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
it's still popular. So,
Yeah.
how was your work as a game designer at Pearl Abyss? Any news about Plan 8 that you can share?
So yeah, unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that I worked on at Plant Perobis, it's pretty secretive stuff. Unfortunately, I can't really
Mm-hmm.
talk too much about it. I can say that Plan 8 is, I believe it's still, I mean, it's still being developed, but I think. So what happened is the company wanted to focus most of their resources on Crimson Desert. So I think so. I think what they're gonna do is they want to try to finish Crimson Desert first, and then after that they're probably gonna reallocate more people to work on Plan 8. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was working there, I was I mean some of the like a lot of the developers that I worked there, and they were like just really really top notch, like incredible, like especially the artists there are just super like they're the best that I've like even as good as the guys I worked with at Valve. So
Mm-hmm.
they have incredible talent at Perobus, and yeah, I really enjoyed working at that company. And the only reason I left was because my wife she had a hard time kind of adjusting to like living in Korea. So she wanted to like she kind of just preferred the life in Canada because she can kind
Mm-hmm.
of like pursue her career a bit better here. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but yeah,
But don't
yeah,
you
that's pretty
prefer
much my life.
personally South Korea because of the this difference in weather?
Actually, South Korea has interesting weather. Like in the summer, it gets pretty hot. Like it can get up to
Yeah.
like mid 30 degrees Celsius, and it gets really cold as well. So they have a very wide variance of temperatures. Whereas in here in Vancouver, like our temperatures, they tend to be very like moderate. Like it doesn't get super hot and it doesn't get like super cold.
Yeah.
So because we live near the water, so it tends to kind of like keep
Mm-hmm.
temperatures pretty moderate. And also, one of the things about Korea is the air quality is not the best. Like I had a lot of problems uh, with my sinuses. So I like my allergies. So I had a lot of like allergies living in Korea because I got allergic to a lot of the air quality. It wasn't so bad. So I had to wear a lot of like masks whenever I went
Mm-hmm.
outside.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah, because of the population density, and there's a lot of like noise, traffic, and
Yeah,
like cars everywhere, and
yeah,
congestion. Anyway,
yeah. It's just a populated city. Yeah,
yeah.
like any big city. Yeah.
So this one is like a quick two questions. Is he
Mhm.
still in contact with Jess Cliffe? And would Will Min appear at any future majors?
Um, the last time I spoke to Jess Cliffe was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Um, yeah, because as you know, he had some problems like with some legal issues. So yeah, his life was kind of like not the best, to be honest,
Yeah,
because he was having some issues with that, and like we talked about that. And honestly, I think a lot of it was kind of overblown. Like I think the media kind of made it look worse than it really was.
yeah.
Like I mean, I think
Apparently,
he did make a mistake, but I don't think it was as bad as what the media made it look like. They made it look like he was like Subway Jared. It's like he's not like that. He's not like a
yeah,
pedophile.
yeah. No,
No, he just
when I looked at the details, apparently he was like kind of catfished, but then the media went with the
yeah,
more sensationalized
yeah,
version. But
exactly. It was a case of him being catfished,
yeah,
and I felt really, I just felt kind of I felt really bad because I felt like the media didn't treat him very fairly.
yeah.
I felt like they kind of spun it in a way that trying to sensationalize
Yeah,
it, like made him
it
look
kind
like
of demonized him,
a
even
villain.
though in the end
It did.
he didn't end up going to
Yeah.
jail or I think even
No,
having a
exactly.
criminal record or
No,
anything.
no, yeah, for sure. Like he didn't go to jail. He didn't do any time.
Yeah,
Like the courts, they basically settled it, and they basically, they determined that he didn't really do anything that was like a serious crime.
yeah,
That
or in
didn't
bad
like
faith.
it didn't deserve any jail time. Exactly. So it was a mistake, and he like it was just it was a case of him being catfished
Yeah,
by
yeah. Well, but it still sucks because I think because of that he was initially he was still working at Valve, but then he got suspended and eventually maybe lost his job. Like it's kind of unknown
yeah
where he is right
yeah.
now.
Yeah, well, he did lose his job at Valve, and yeah, I mean, I feel sorry for how it turned out for him. I do feel bad
Yeah,
for him.
I
I mean,
I
because honestly, when I worked with him, he was like, I mean, he still is. He's like he was one of the greatest persons that I enjoyed working with, because he was just someone that I could just really relate to on a personal level. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we had a lot in common. Like our sense of humor was the same, and
Yeah.
he I never thought he was like a bad person at all. Like in my I think I known him for like 15, 20 years now, and every time I talked to him, it was never I never got like a vibe where he was like a bad person. He was just like, he's just a dude,
Yeah.
just.
J-
So I
just a
think what
shitty
happened was pretty
situation.
unfortunate. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. I thought it was just unfortunate, and
Well, let's just pray at the very least that he, if anything, he's in a good mental space, because it's been years, and I think most people have forgotten about it. But it's just unfortunate that kind of the damage has already been done. Uh,
yeah, it sucks that once the media kind of put that story out, it's really hard to you know kind of
Mentally
like
move
erase.
away from it.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to kind of get away from it, because
Yeah.
people don't want to hear his side of it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Do you still want to continue? There's a few more questions. Do you have time?
yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm pretty good. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah, keep going.
Okay. All right. Let me look at something that is interesting or we haven't talked about. Uh, what does it feel to know you've created one, if not the most iconic FPS of our generation?
Um, yeah, I feel very proud. Like when I was at the HOTV Awards, when I got to meet a lot of the people that are part of the community, and just kind of like seeing their success in life, it made me feel very just proud and like really happy to be able to kind of like be a part of their lives in a positive way. So yeah, I think it's definitely the highlight of my career. Like if I never make any other games again, I'll be happy to know that I was able to be a part of like Counter Strike and its success. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's. I mean, I'm just, and also I have to thank Valve for their their continue to support the game and just to keep the legacy growing, because it's really them that's really keeping it so up to date and so modern. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty successful statistically. So, and on that side of things, they are doing a pretty good job. But how people feel is kind of irrelevant at the end of the
Yeah, yeah.
day. Because like the haters are the voices that you're gonna hear the most of anyways. So
Yeah, yeah.
do you still have the Steam 2002 CS 1.4 beta files? If not, do you have any information about it, as this is lost media? This is Nifern, a fellow YouTuber.
I'm sorry. Do I still have the
The
Steam CS?
Yeah. Do you still have the Steam 2002 CS 1.4 beta files?
Oh, CS 1.4 beta files.
Yeah.
Uh, no, I don't. Yeah, I don't. In fact, I don't have any files from CS beta. Unfortunately, I just didn't keep them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if anybody has them,
Oh,
it's probably Valve, I
yeah.
would say. Yeah, but no, I don't have them. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think CS
Mhm.
1.6 source Go aged well?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, eventually they got replaced by CS2. So yeah, I think Valve they've done a really good job of just kind of keeping the legacy growing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just if you look at how many people still play CS today, I think that's really
Yeah.
the true sign
I
of how
mean,
how well they've aged. Yeah.
there's even like still around between 10 and 15,000 people on Steam playing CS 1.6, and probably thousands
Wow.
more pirated. Oh yeah, if you
Wow.
didn't know,
Really.
by the way, yeah, if you go to like
Uh.
SteamDB, like Steam charts or anything, and you look up the
Yeah.
original
Yeah.
CS, yeah, there's still
Okay.
thousands of people. And in my experience, I've been to a lot of servers where, if you look at the scoreboard here, the people that have profile picture are Steam, the other are non-Steam, and there's like thousands non-Steam on a lot of servers from various regions around the world, mostly like South America, Southeast Asia. A lot of people still play it there.
Yeah, I guess it's because they don't have the best computer hardware to run the
Yeah,
latest versions.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Is there any meaning behind the fake weapon manufacturer names? Like we've talked about
Uh,
earlier, or are they just parody?
yeah, most of them I just kind of made them up because I was just kind of having fun. Yeah,
Yeah,
like yeah, it's like yeah, I just try to come up with some fake names that just sounded kind of sounded similar to the original names, but not
yeah.
too like for example
Non-copyrighted.
the Nighthawk exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Were you? Oh, this is an interesting one. Were you aware of the development of Counter Strike Neo by Namco, and did it pique your interest at all when
Oh.
you found out about it?
You mean the Japanese version?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
arcade, the Japanese arcade
Yeah,
CS.
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. When I first saw that, I saw it. I think it was on a website. Somebody showed it to me, and I was really kind of amazed by it because I love Japanese culture. Like I watch a lot of Japanese anime, that kind of thing. So
Oh,
when I saw them making a Japanese anime version of CS, I thought it was like, damn. I thought, man, Counter Strike has become like really like worldwide like success.
yeah,
So I was really honored that they would actually do that and make a kind of an anime version that would kind of appeal to the Japanese market.
yeah,
So it was awesome. It was really cool
yeah.
seeing that. Yeah, I thought it was cool.
Yeah,
I actually I visited Japan and I was able to see it in real life as well.
you've seen
I
the
was able
real
to play.
arcade cabinets?
Yeah, yeah. I saw the arcades Counter Strike Neo. I should have taken a picture, but
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing it in real life in Tokyo, and I was
Uh-huh.
just kind of
Yeah,
laughing. Oh,
because the
cool.
game was relatively popular in that sense because the whole reason it kind of exists, like the story behind it is that CS was popular everywhere in the world except Asia. For people in
Oh,
Asia, because people in Asia
yes.
are mostly about strategy and MMOs and all that kind of stuff. So a game
Oh,
like CS didn't
yeah.
exactly appeal to them, but Valve really wanted to have a
Oh,
piece of a cake from that market, but they couldn't just
oh,
port CS 1.6 to or Source to Japan, so they were like, "How can
oh,
we make a localized version?" And they created this
oh,
collaboration with Namco, and Namco was like, "Well, people in Japan love arcades. Let's make an arcade game," and they gave them the rights, and
oh.
that Namco made CS Neo. Yeah.
Interesting. But was it a single player game or was it
No,
multiplayer?
no,
Like when you
it
play in
was
the arcade?
multiplayer, like LAN parties. There were supposedly tournaments that where people won
Oh,
prizes and money. It was
oh,
popular to a degree, but
wow.
it wasn't that different actually. The way it played it was it was still regular CS, because
Mhm.
it is based on CS Condition Zero, just kind of like reskinned with like weirdly mixed together with like CS Source
Mm.
graphics.
Okay.
I don't know how they did that,
Oh,
and also they had like cosmetics that you could unlock or pay to unlock. Like the way the arcades worked is like with a chip card that recognizes your account and
okay.
everything.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah, yeah, that's how it worked. And it was popular, but they kind of started
Mm.
closing down around 2010, 2011 ish, and eventually the cabinets disappeared, and God knows where the originals are. But the game can be emulated. It does exist in a way, and there's like an entire website dedicated to CS Neo. Because there's a manga too about CS Neo, because Namco did make a story in it. So there's like a
Wow.
visual novel
That's
manga,
interesting.
I think. No, it's more of a
Oh,
visual novel.
wow.
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
I have the too bad they didn't make a cartoon, like an
I
anime. That'd
mean,
be cool.
if it was really popular, maybe they could have. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's an interesting part of
Yeah.
like the CS's past in Asia. But yeah, there's also like
Yeah.
CS Nixon, if you know about that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know the Koreans, they made their own version.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was cool.
yeah, yeah.
When I
Uh,
was in Korea in 2007, I saw like a lot of different Counter-Strike clones. So
oh
I
yeah,
was, yeah.
the infamous Crossfire that's really popular in Asia.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, super popular. Sudden Attack, Crossfire, those games, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Should we continue or do we move on with like the final segment? How do you feel?
Sure. I mean, yeah, we can do the final segment. Yeah.
Okay, so should we stop with the questions because like there's still more, and I think people are continuing to submit
Mm.
more. But
Oh, okay.
if you
Maybe
want,
we can do one more from the community if you can find one more that's different.
yeah, I'll look for one. Uh,
Or maybe actually, can you show me the questions and then I can pick one more or two more? Can you can you so?
I'll,
Oh, okay. So those are the questions.
yeah.
Were there any original game modes planned? Blah blah blah. What if two players shoot each other with a deadly? Oh, interesting. Why, if two players shoot each other with a deadly round, only one player is killed? Was it coded like some other thing? Yeah, it's because whenever a player shoots, it only takes the events in sequence. So whoever pressed the button first and sent that command. So whoever presses the shoot button, he sends a command to the server, and whenever the server gets the command, he'll initiate the very first person that did it. So if two people press the same button at the same time, uh, the server only receives one of them first, and basically the first one who receives it. So who has the best internet will win that one.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
guess it becomes so specific that there's no realistic way a round can end in a draw with two people shooting each other at the exact same time.
yeah. I mean, it's possible to do it, but you would have to change the code to kind of accommodate like two
Yeah.
people sending. It's just a lot of work, and
Yeah.
yeah, to be honest, yeah.
Because interestingly, in Series 1.6, the round draw is kind of possible. Like there is the voice line, and there is like it is coded in for a
Oh,
round to
round 12.
draw, but there's not exactly a
Yeah.
way for people to shoot each other at the exact same time to draw a round like that
Oh,
in a realistic setting.
actually, the round draw thing was. I think we had some game modes that could end in a round draw.
Oh, is that
Like,
why?
yeah, because back in the betas, there was like I think hostage rescue. We had a condition where like yeah, we did have conditions where the round would be drawn. I just can't remember them exactly. Like maybe if the counter terrorists they
Okay.
pick up the hostage, but they didn't escort them to the end.
Okay.
I can't remember,
So
but I
it
remember do having round draws. Yeah,
uh-huh. So it did initially have a purpose, but then just was a
it did have a
remnant
purpose.
from the past.
Yeah, but eventually we probably just um, removed the round draws because they didn't make sense. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, do you want to stop there? I mean, I don't want to push my luck here.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. Okay.
'Cause there's like
Yeah,
a lot more in here. I've categorized them. They
yeah.
become longer and longer. If you want to pick one
Okay,
more, I guess.
maybe. Okay, I'll pick one more. What do you feel about the bottom season? I think. Can you scroll down? One page. Like about. Okay, so how about this one? You mentioned you were following IEM Katowice in Poland. Yeah, so I started watching a lot of the pro esports teams. Like I watched like the Blast Bounty and like the Shanghai Majors, and so I really enjoyed it because I was able to see like a lot of how the pro players played. And honestly, they play pretty much how I used to play back in the betas, but they're just much better at it. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
fundamentally, the game of Counter Strike, it hasn't really changed that much. Like it's all about like reflexes and like making sure to crouch when you shoot, and it's all about movement. They have a system where they call it counter strafing. Like the
Yeah.
pro players don't do counter strafing. So all of these little elements, I used to do them when I was playing the betas. So yeah, fundamentally, it's kind of interesting to see how the game has kind of remained the same in the core game mechanics, but obviously the graphical and the visual fidelity has kept kind of improved to
Yeah.
kind of keep up with today's standards, and
And
so it was cool. Yeah, like
also the
when I think about
strategy.
it, like yeah, exactly. Like, because back when I played the betas, I was pretty good. I was always like top three on the scoreboards, and like I try sometimes to think maybe I should have been an esports player because I did make the game. So I wonder how good I would have been. But I think when I look at some of the top players now, yeah, I was never that good. Some of these guys, they're just like inhuman. It's almost like they're using an aimbot or
Yeah,
something.
I
But
mean,
it's
you would have had to like forfeit your entire game dev career to be a pro player.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
yeah,
But
it
yeah,
does
but
involve a lot.
yeah, but nah, it's cool. But it's cool to see. It's cool to see. how people are still playing the same, fundamentally the same game that I was playing like 20 years ago.
Yeah,
So
yeah. All right. Well, let's not prolong this anymore. I guess we should
Mhm.
move on to the final segment, and this is
Yeah, I can
where.
do your questions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I have actually. You know what? Before we move on to the final segment, if you don't mind me asking like some important questions, some
yeah,
final
sure.
like important questions, then we'll get to like chat messages, requests, and so on and so forth. Um, who was Justin DeJong exactly?
Oh, yeah. So Justin DeJong, he made CS Siege,
Yeah.
and he made some of the most popular maps back in the day. So yeah, he was just an incredible mapper. And so unfortunately, he committed suicide
Yeah.
uh, shortly after making. So I think he made like 3 or 4 Counter-Strike maps, and then he committed suicide. And like it was a huge shock to us. Like everybody in the community loved him because he was like at the time he was basically the best Counter-Strike mapper. Like every map that he made was popular. It ended up being super popular, like Siege. Yeah, and just every map that he touched was like was just played so many times. So
Yeah.
so he was one of the biggest influences in Counter-Strike because of just the maps that he made for the early betas.
So yeah,
Yeah.
he had a lot of impact because his name, as you can see here, it's on Dust 2. There's a memoriam, and there's a couple
Yeah.
of other maps where there's another like in memory of Justin DeJong, and
Yeah.
D Atstick also had one in its early versions, but there's not a whole lot known about
Mhm.
him and who he was as a person
No.
because it was like so early.
So yeah, yeah. No. But so basically, he was a very influential mapper in the community. Like everybody looked up to him. Like all of the other mappers, they really they were inspired by his maps basically. So and even myself, just I really love just his creations and just every time he submitted new maps for us, we always were excited to kind of play them because we knew that he was such a quality guy.
Yeah.
And yeah,
But was he also a
unfortunately,
close friend? Like was
no, I didn't. So a lot of the mappers, we didn't really talk much on a personal level. We always just kind of talk, mostly just like on like suggestions on how to improve the game, how to like improve the map and that kind of thing. So we weren't able to communicate on a personal level. So his death was really a shock to everybody, and because we didn't know
Mhm.
what he was going through,
Oh.
and so we didn't really know how to process it. And like even we were pretty young ourselves. We were like 21 or 22. So everybody was really quite in shock because
Yeah.
everybody in the community, we were all very, very like just kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
pretty young, and we didn't know how to deal with something like that.
It makes sense.
So
You were all very young and spry and having fun with this mod, but then uh,
yeah,
a fellow mapper
this
takes his own
tragedy,
life at
yeah,
this at age
exactly.
18 is like so shocking
Yeah,
and like
it was a
tragic.
yeah, it was, and yeah, I still think about him because it was such a it's such a tragedy because he was so talented, you know.
Hmm.
He could, if he was here today, he definitely would have been making some incredible games. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
been a really good level
it's
designer.
really, yeah, I know. So it's one of the things that I remember quite vividly. Just his death was such a huge shock to everybody. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's quite tragic.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
moving on from one tragedy to another tragedy. This is a question
Mhm.
that's a bit of a weird one that I kind of came up with, and because I'm just
Mhm.
so morbidly curious about this. So, CS released
Mhm.
in the year 2000. It was popular and all that, and then 1 year later, 9/11 happened. How did that
Mhm.
not have an impact on the game, considering its themes of terrorism? I've kind of like thought about that. Was there
Mhm.
like you have any like memories of like concerns of
Yeah.
like, oh no, this like anti-terrorism culture is it
Yeah.
gonna spill into our game? And
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. In fact, a lot of people think that Counter-Strike was made because of 9/11. They thought it was made because after 9/11, I got the inspiration to do it. But no, 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 no. Counter-Strike came out in 1999. So this is well before 9/11. So I remember when 9/11 occurred, it was just a huge fundamental change in the whole world, in society. And people, we did get a lot of criticism from the media, saying that our game like kind of influenced it, you know. But we didn't feel that, it was something that we could have properly addressed. Because we still, I mean, maybe we were just being young, and maybe we didn't really want to address it. But I still felt like 9/11 happened. It happened not because of Counter Strike. It just,
Yeah.
the world was just, it was a very complicated place. And I think 9/11 probably would have happened even if Counter Strike wasn't really available.
Yeah.
So in fact, there was some documentary that kind of discovered some of the things on Bin Laden's hard drives.
Yeah.
Um,
He had CS on his
and
hard drive. Yeah.
no, he didn't. But I was kind
Oh.
of like, no, yeah, because he had like other games. I think he had like Quake or some Doom games or something like that. But
Mhm.
apparently he was a gamer. So, but I don't think that influenced his decisions. So I don't know. It's like these are topics that I don't really, I don't think I'm qualified to really answer. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question, um, did it affect did it affect the development of Counter Strike? Not so much.
Oh
We
no, no,
didn't
I don't
really.
think it affected the development. I was
Yeah.
just more so curious if there was like any outcry, like people trying to make a connection that, like,
Oh
CS
yeah, the
promotes
media.
terrorism, or somebody
Yeah,
calling for CS to be banned. Just typical things from like boomers and older generations.
yeah, yeah. That did happen. It did happen like at several points.
Yeah,
But for the most part, we were able to just um, kind
navigate.
of, navigate through it,
Yeah,
and just yeah. I mean,
yeah.
just keep developing the game
Yeah.
in spite of those criticisms.
Yeah,
But
because there was after that event, after that tragedy happened, there was like a big cultural shift, and certain things changed. Some died, others were like taken out of like TV or anything. It was a big thing.
uh,
But when I think about it, it's like, well, but CS literally has terrorism and explosions, but it was like not affected
yeah,
at all.
yeah,
So yeah, I was just kind of like
yeah.
thinking about
Oh,
that one
okay.
day. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think, well, I think, yeah, I mean, I guess we didn't really feel the pressure. I mean, I guess there was pressure, but I mean, we just felt like so many people were playing the game, and they kind of knew what they were getting into. They kind of knew this game was about terrorists.
Yeah.
So we felt like there wasn't a lot we could do. Like, we're not going to replace the terrorists with aliens.
Yeah.
Or so it just felt like the game has already been established. There's
Yeah.
not, we can't put the genie back in the bottle. So it
Yeah.
felt
Yeah.
like
Oh.
there's not much we could have
Oh
done.
yeah. Oh no. That's by the way something that certain people occasionally bring up today about CS. That maybe if it stays away from the whole like realistic terrorism thing, it would be more widely accepted. It would be more mainstream, and in esports, more companies would be willing to put their name. There's like this. It's a bit
Oh,
conspiratorial, and I don't think it holds any credence at all. I don't think it matters
hmm,
because it's still just a video game. So what if
yeah,
it has the word terrorism? I
yeah.
personally don't think it matters,
But
but
I mean, that's a good point. I mean, see, I always ask myself this question: what if Counter Strike wasn't about terrorists? What if it was about cops and robbers, or what if it was about like a different theme?
yeah,
I sometimes ask myself, would it be as popular? Honestly, I don't know. Because sometimes I think people play Counter Strike because they like the theme. They like the theme of counter terrorists. Like, they like being able to play as like a SAS or a GIGN. I think that's part of the charm of what makes people enjoy Counter Strike. So if we were to remove the counter terrorist aspect of it and kind of replace them as just like generic criminals, or like, maybe like drug dealers or something like that, I mean, would people still play it? Honestly, I don't know. But I know myself personally, the reason I made Counter Strike, the reason I played it, is because I wanted to play as a counter terrorist. I wanted to like
hmm
fight against counter terrorists. So the
yeah,
theme of the Counter-Strike was pretty important for me. But sometimes when I look at people that play Counter-Strike, there's probably a big audience that they don't really care that it's about terrorism. They
Yeah,
just
they
like the
care
fact
about the
that it's a shooting
gameplay.
game. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's a good question. I'm not sure how important the theme is to some of these people, but I know for some players like myself, I wouldn't really play Counter Strike if it wasn't about that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, because people can play games like Valorant, right? Oh wow,
Yeah.
this is an old
Yeah.
video. I did an
Yeah.
interview with CBC.
Yeah, yeah. So I was just about to
Yeah.
show this for like my final question. So in this interview, let me just show for the audience. Oops, they're not supposed to see that. In this interview, this is
Mm-hmm.
for people that don't know. This is a segment
My real
from the documentary called "The First Person Shooter." It's
shooter. Yes.
yeah, it's just
Is it on
a
YouTube? It's on
yeah,
YouTube, right?
yeah. If you look
Oh, it's
up
called a first-person shooter.
first person shooter documentary 2002,
Mm,
you're gonna get
yeah.
results for it.
Yep.
And
Hmm.
just for people who want to know the context of this documentary, is just an old boomer guy has a son who's addicted to CS, and this guy wants to
Hmm.
understand why do people like games, and he thinks and this dad thinks they're violent, so he tries to like
Hmm.
figure out the culture and everything, how it works. And one of the things he did is travel to Canada and interview a 20-year-old Min Lee and ask
Hmm.
him about the game and stuff. So the reason I'm
Hmm.
bringing this up is because here in this documentary, one thing that is mentioned is
Hmm.
that Min Lee has made more than $250,000 from this game. Like, is that accurate in any way? Do you remember if you told them that?
Yeah, I think that's. Uh, I think including the like at the time, I think that was probably accurate. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
because I know it's been like 25 years, it probably doesn't matter, but how
Hmm.
much did you sell the CS franchise for to Valve? Like 5 figures, 6 figures? You've mentioned that
Oh,
you and Jess Cliffe
okay.
were broke college students, so
Oh yeah, that's the
you
reason.
would have like taken anything at
Yeah,
that
yeah.
age.
Oh, they misspelled my name. Okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not allowed to say, to be honest. Even if
Oh,
uh,
okay.
I can tell you. Well, okay. Let's just say this.
But like a vague figure, are you like allowed to say
Okay.
like a
Is it,
vague
okay.
figure or
How about
anything?
if I can say 5 or 6 figures? Let me see.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, sorry. Wait, hang on. How many figures? Let me. It was 6 figures.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, there. What on top of that, were there
yeah.
like any extra like royalties, residuals for
No,
copies sold of the game? No, just that's it,
no. We sold them the IP.
and that's
Like
it.
complete. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah,
No, it's okay.
basically, yeah, we sold it like we gave like we it was basically 100% road. Because we didn't even think that they were gonna sell the game, because when we sold it to them, it was a free mod.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like how are you guys gonna make money off of this? This is a free. People can download this game for free. So I didn't even have the idea of asking for royalties. I was like, royalties on a free game. So no, that
Mm-hmm.
wasn't in the no. We didn't ask for that. No, that
Okay.
wasn't part of it.
Okay.
So
Well.
we basically just kind of gave them the IP for
Okay.
yeah for 6 figures.
Okay. Because sometimes I would hear people say, not because it's like unknown information, but like some people think, well, wow, CS is so popular, the creator must be filthy rich or something like that. And of course, they don't know
Mm,
the story, or other people that know that, oh,
no,
Min Lee made the game. Oh, he's probably getting royalties and he's well off for the rest of his life. But in
no,
reality,
no, yeah, no. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, yeah, I can't. I mean, I'm not really at liberty to say a lot, but yeah, I'll just say this: I'm not like I still have to work.
yeah.
If I stop working right now, I'll probably have to live on the streets. So no, I'm not. I'm
Hmm.
not financially like
Hmm.
I can't just retire right now. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, basically,
yeah. And
unfortunate, but
was this what we were working on here? The CS sequel prototype, by the way?
Yeah. Basically, this is the animations that I was making for the prototype for Counter Strike,
Mm-hmm.
CS2, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was using 3D Studios Max to animate those characters, and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was yeah.
That's a very futuristic PC for its time, by the way. It's like a flat screen on an
Oh,
arm. Like this setup looks very futuristic for its time.
yeah. Well, because I remember I purchased that arm because I wanted something that was very ergonomic because I was sitting so much and I was having a lot of back problems.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, I had to make sure that my computer setup was as ergonomic as possible.
Okay. Okay.
So that was basically my room. Basically, I would just kind of sleep over there. I would
Mm-hmm.
wake up and then I would work. So this is actually the basement of my parents' house. So I was basically living
Oh.
with my parents.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All
But for
right.
now, I'm not. I'm just gonna let you do your own thing, and I'm not gonna pester you.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
All
it was
right.
good to chat with you and answer all your questions. And yeah, nice to meet all of your community. And yeah,
Yeah. They're all
we'll we'll
here.
we'll,
They're all
we'll
here to.
speak again.
We'll speak again
Hopefully,
soon. Yeah.
we'll speak again soon. Yeah.
They were all here to prove to you that CS is still here
Yeah.
and it's still popular
Yeah.
25 years later.
Yeah. Crazy. Okay, man. All right.
All
So
right.
thanks again for having me. And yeah,
Uh,
we'll
since
talk
you're
to
in
you
Canada,
next time.
yeah, since you're in
Yeah.
Canada, have a nice rest of your day. And for most
All
of
right.
us, it's almost nighttime. So,
Oh, damn. Yeah. Okay. So,
yeah.
all right then. Good night, everybody. So, we'll talk to you. We'll talk to you next
All
time.
right.
Okay.
All right.
Bye bye.
Bye. Have a good afternoon.
Okay.
Oh. Are you guys happy now? Did you guys have fun with that? Let me just remove that. Are people still playing on here? Oh yeah, they are. Cool. Oh yeah, there's my mouse cursor. It finally appeared. Yeah, because I was like sharing with him.